they got. We're literally doing it differently from everybody else.
Hey, as a matter of fact, moving forward from this point on, I will not make reference to PFF.
Ready to get into it?
Yeah.
All right, we're going team by team.
I would be very careful about slinging stuff.
Am I going to get sued?
You got legal on this?
Let's send you out on the right note. PFF sucks. Have a great day, everybody.
Welcome into the PFF NFL podcast. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. We're live on YouTube, and it's a very special day, Sam.
Yeah?
Not just Mock Draft Monday, but it is our viewer Mock Draft Monday. So, if this comes out as the worst mock draft ever, it's not our fault. It's not on us this time.
It's your fault.
Well, it's not my fault either.
No, you the listener.
I have what?
You the listener.
Oh, you the you. You the listener, you the viewer.
Right.
Probably not the listener, because if you're just listening,
You're probably not in the chat.
it's
yeah.
done. It's done. Maybe you did both. But got to join the chat. Tell your friends. Wake them up if they're on the West Coast. Tell them to get here so they can have a say in the viewer mock draft.
6 a.m. the West Coast. Rough.
Sure is. We go 4 a.m. on the West Coast during the season. So it's for everybody here. I enjoy this. I don't think you do as much, but I certainly enjoy this. I like to know what the viewers want to do.
Well, that fits our stereotypes. You know?
It does.
Big
Steve's
goofy,
positive, and you're
big, goofy, and grouchy.
yeah. People are really addressing us as such.
Yeah.
In a lot of our emails.
It works.
We
should claim that email somewhere. It's got to be. Make sure nobody Gmail grabs that.
Is that the? Forget it. Someday, it could be like, they'll be like our thing. We have like our own Twitter account.
Right, big goofy, and grouchy. Also, there's got to be like people listening to this show that are good at graphics and art and stuff. Somebody needs to make that a T-shirt. Like
big goofy.
It needs to be basically this picture, right? And on one side is Goofy. Somebody's done that Photoshop already. You sitting there as Goofy, and then on this side it's got to be a trash can and Oscar the Grouch.
So we're getting into trademark territory. For getting sued.
Yeah.
We've already done it with catchphrases. We've already made many accusations.
I feel like
people now you want to jump into a trademark land.
I feel like if we put your head on Goofy and my head on Oscar the Grouch, I think that skirts trademarks enough, right?
I don't know if we have any trademark lawyers in there.
Seems close.
In the audience, maybe they could help us out with what we can get away with.
I'm sure PFF is a well-staffed legal department. We should give it a run.
We should definitely trust our legal department for sure. We've won cases before. Hey, so let's reset the week here. What do we have coming up this week? Happy draft week, everybody. The draft is Thursday night for those of you that aren't keeping up with such things. We'll be live.
Yeah.
Thursday and Friday night, you, me, and Trevor.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like inviting Trevor into our show.
Onto our table.
Right?
Yeah.
Right in the middle to sit in the middle of Big Goofy and Grumpy.
Uh-huh.
So you and I will be live.
Yep.
Thursday and Friday, rounds 1, 2, and 3. As far as the PFF NFL podcast, we're here on Wednesday. It's another big show. This is our we'll call it draft bet show, but draft prediction show where you can put your money where your mouth is, maybe put up some coffee, put up something fun in exchange for us putting up a PFF Plus subscription where you can just say, hey, I believe there's going to be 15 receivers drafted in the first round. Vault me on that. We're going to make that a bet. So send those in, NFLpodcast@pff.com. You can hit us up on Twitter. Use the hashtag VaultMe. I will check that out. And we'll take the best, 20, 30, 40 bets, whatever we can get through, and see how well you do at predicting the draft. So that's Wednesday. And then Thursday, we're going to have Nate Tice and Bruce Feldman talking NFL draft storylines during the day on Thursday as it's building up to Christmas night, which is, draft night.
Yeah, that'll be our usual show on Thursday. And then we have a bonus show right after the draft, live here on YouTube, or as soon as we get it up on audio right after we finish.
So we love you guys so much. We'll do the 5 hours live or whatever it is, 4 hours live on round 1, and then hit record once again and recap round 1.
Do it all over again.
Immediately. Everybody sound good?
The best thing about that show, I don't know if we were doing it this year, but last year we had like a little camera set up over there, did like a bird's eye view, and we saw this sort of transition of us booting everybody else out of the studio and setting up and going live.
Great. Yeah, so we just kept it live and got set up. I think I refilled my coffee at midnight and we went for it. All right, so we're going to get into our viewer mock draft in a minute. But first, is 2024 bringing exciting or unexpected changes to your life? Well, here's a secret weapon to help you face those challenges with more confidence. It's a great term life insurance policy. That's right. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to protect your family's financial future so you can focus on what's ahead knowing your family is protected if something else unexpected happens. Fabric was designed by parents for parents to help you get a high-quality, surprisingly affordable term life insurance policy in less than 10 minutes. Fabric has flexible policies that fit your family and your budget, like $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. Get your personalized quote in just minutes and then apply when it's convenient for you. It's all online and on your schedule. You can go from start to covered in less than 10 minutes with no health exam required. So join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. That's meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. MEETfabric.com/PFFNFL. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Insurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. All right, man, our viewer mock draft. Some rules here. I believe we've avoided trades in the past. Do we want to make one exception? Do we want to do anything just because you've got the Vikings with the 2 draft picks? Do we want to do something about quarterback trade up or not? Not like trade terms or anything, but say like the Cardinals come on the clock at 4 and we say, the poll would be like, should the Cardinals trade? Who should they trade with? And we put up Vikings, Broncos, Raiders, or stay put. And we let the listeners, just that one time,
I mean, we can try it.
Make a move.
Sure.
Oh, look at you. Very positive this morning.
Yeah.
Normally you would just shut that right down. Some people want to trade, some people don't. It's always good.
Yeah.
No poll for that. Should we allow you to trade? All right, let's get into this. So what we've done in the past, so pick number 1, Bears are on the clock. We will give you 4 options. Do we even dare give you 4 options for this one? Are the people going to go Caleb Williams, or are they going to screw up our mock draft right away?
I mean, you have to give him 4 because then it's definitely going to be Caleb Williams. If you only give him Caleb Williams or other, there's a danger you might get enough other picks.
All right, so in round 1, let's just put the 4 quarterbacks up there. Bears are on the clock for pick 1. Let's go Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and J.J. McCarthy. We'll give 4 options for the Bears. Do the right thing, chat.
Yeah.
Do the right thing. Make sure that it's Caleb Williams so that our whole mock draft is not thrown off. This is your mock draft.
Here we go.
There we go. The poll's up.
So we've been skating over this pick very quickly every other time we've done a mock draft. Can you construct an argument that any other quarterback other than Caleb Williams should be number 1?
I can't. I mean, I think it would have to start with Caleb Williams' negatives, right? So if you were looking at negatives, you would say, okay, he didn't peak as a junior. He hit some adversity maybe for the first time in his career, and USC kind of crumbled down the stretch. Is that all his fault? Not necessarily. Had some games where he didn't look great under pressure, Notre Dame game, and just didn't really recover last year. And then you would have to prop someone else up. I think if you were, as much as I like Drake May, if you were propping someone up over Caleb Williams, it might be Jaden Daniels. You would say 23-year-old Jaden Daniels, electric runner, good in the pocket, make all the throws. Jaden Daniels, with his Heisman winning season, while things were crumbling around Caleb Williams, it would have to be Jaden Daniels, in my opinion, even though I think Drake May should be QB too. So I think the argument against Caleb Williams would be the downturn at the end of his career, which was
playing
outside of structure and everything.
Yeah, which was sort of more, it was a bigger downturn than the stats might look. So 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions last season. His fumble rate is massive, actually, relative to some other guys. His turnover-worthy play rate went from 8 to 18, 1.6% to 3.6%. So it was a much bigger volume of bad plays last season than maybe it looks if you're just looking at touchdown to interception ratio. That's what it would focus on. It's like right up until that point, he looked like he was on the Mahomes spectrum of the dude, for some reason, is able to get away with that stuff that other people aren't. And then last year, it's like, maybe not. Maybe he's actually not able to get away with it all the time. Because that is a concern, right? Mahomes is literally the only quarterback ever that's been able to consistently get away with those throws that you're not supposed to make, right? Even Brett Favre. Brett Favre, broke records in terms of volume and, put up crazy numbers. But his propensity to do that it probably cost him rings. Like he won, right? But Brett Favre probably should have had another 1 or 2, but he didn't because a couple of times late in the playoffs when the Packers should have won a game, Brett Favre decided to do that thing where he threw it back across his body into traffic and got picked off, right? It happened more than one time when his team was the better team and didn't get a ring because of it. So even Brett Favre couldn't get away with that as consistently as Patrick Mahomes has. And it looked like up until last year, Caleb Williams was that guy. And then last year, it's like, actually, no, he's human the same way.
All that said, as expected, Caleb Williams is the first pick. He is selected by the Bears in our viewer mock draft. Good start, good mock draft. We're 100% accurate for what's going to happen on Thursday night. Now we shake it up a little bit. The Washington Commanders. I think, do we just give them the next 3 quarterbacks? Do we throw a 4th quarterback in there? Clearly, we're going to have Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, just give them the 3.
Just give the 3?
There's no point putting anything else in there, right?
Okay. So let's just go with the 3 quarterbacks that have all had some level of rumor to go at number 2 to the Washington Commanders. I want to rehash this a little bit. Do you want to? Well, we talked a lot about the alpha test on Thursday. We discussed this quite a bit on the 30 visit where all the guys came in. Jaden Daniels and his agent seemed to be upset. They weren't expecting an alpha test. They thought it was a one-on-one. They thought it was just a normal sleepover.
Yeah,
but it was not.
No.
Invited a lot of friends.
Top Golf and other people.
Yeah. So does that mean the Patriots and or anyone trading up at 4 are getting the non-alphas here?
Well, this is
the alpha test losers.
I mean, so Jaden Daniels' representatives. Well, okay, there were reports that Jaden Daniels was upset and his representatives were upset that they thought this was just a one-on-one, top 30 meeting, and then they rock up and everyone else is there as well. Or what the hell? And we were making the point, largely jokingly, that whinging about it publicly is very non-alpha. That's why you do the alpha test, right? You don't see J.J. McCarthy bitching about it. He just went out there and, became the alpha. He was like, this is an opportunity to show that I'm the guy that everyone will gravitate to. And, so this is why you run that test. Find the guy that's going to whinge about it.
Now, the thing I've been saying this entire time for the Commanders.
Again, to be clear, joke.
Yeah, these are all jokes. Even though we had a lot of fun going back in time, pulling out who the alpha would have been in each class. Do you think all of the buzz has been around Jaden Daniels? Now there's these reports that the couple visits with Washington haven't been great, including the 30 visit. The meetings with them have not been great. Do you think that and a lot of the Jaden Daniels buzz, I don't believe is coming out of Washington? And then there's a lot of NFL analysts, Dan Orlovsky, I believe, Louis Riddick. There are some people who like Jaden Daniels as QB1. They're hinting the other way. And then a lot of Jaden Daniels is going to go to Washington is based off people talking around the league. But I don't know how much of that's actually coming out of Washington. Then you have movement in the betting lines the last couple days. That Drake May's moved up a little bit, Jaden Daniels has moved down, and I just want to remind people how little that matters. Because last year, on draft week, maybe on draft day, the favorites to go number 2 overall to the Houston Texans were Will Levis and then Tyree Wilson. Will Anderson was 3rd or 4th on that list. Of course, Will Levis fell to the 2nd round. Tyree Wilson didn't go until 7. And then the Texans took C.J. Stroud and traded up for Will Anderson, guys who were nowhere to be seen in the top 2 as far as favorites for number 2. So does any of this matter? My theory on all this is that it always could have been Drake May, and us believing it was Jaden Daniels wasn't actually coming out of Washington's camp.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's substance to this Bill Belichick notion that everything you're hearing around now is not coming from teams. Accurate information is not coming out until Thursday, until draft day. The one interesting nugget, though, was that this idea of the constant thread that J.J. McCarthy has been higher ranked by the NFL than publicly. And remember, Tom Palazzolo at the owners' meetings was saying he'd talked to a bunch of people and basically just asked them all who's Washington taking. And the majority of replies he was getting said J.J. McCarthy. Like, he had more McCarthy answers than anybody else when he was asking that question at the owners' meeting. That, I think, is kind of intriguing. So it's being framed to a degree as Jaden Daniels versus Drake May at 2. I still do think that there's a live chance that McCarthy's in that mix as well.
I just want to respond to something, too, because we're going to be here for 4 hours. Why not?
Sweet.
This weekend, was it who did I respond to? There was a comment about analytics. I think it was from Jason Lockenfora. From Lockenfora basically says, quote, 2 GMs told me they believe if the Commanders let the analytics guide them, McCarthy is their guess for the number 2 pick. If the team's coaches hold significant sway, then Daniels would be the selection, end quote. So the idea that like hashtag analytics has a say and that it is a say, it is this like one overarching say is just so wrong in a million ways. And if this is what GMs are saying, I mean, it's just the point I was trying to make in response to this is every NFL team has PFF data plus other data sources, and they all do math on it differently, and they still all come to different conclusions. There is no one overarching analytical take. The same way when you put a take out there and someone says, PFF says, it's like, no. Sam said it, right? Sam's opinion might be different from Steve's, which might be different from Trevor's. PFF doesn't have a say. We have a grade. We have a production grade on players, which is the PFF grade, but we don't have a say or a particular take that is uniform across the board, nor does analytics.
And if they did, it would almost certainly not point you in the direction of J.J. McCarthy as the guy.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you assumed that was a reasonable way of framing the conversation, the guy that analytics would identify of the 3 quarterbacks would not be J.J. McCarthy.
I don't actually know who it would be because like what variables are you using? If you're using age and winning percentage as big variables, which some analyst might do, it might be J.J. McCarthy. If you're using if you're factoring in,
I think it would probably be May.
I think if you used all the data and you didn't just look at the last season, it would be Drake May.
Right.
And because there would probably be some age baked in, there would be some production baked in, and Drake May's 2 seasons of production are better than the career of Jaden Daniels, the career of J.J. McCarthy.
And the thing,
but if you were just looking at last season, it would be Jaden Daniels. So when the variables change, the quote analytics change as well. So just don't be fooled.
And the thing that you're scared of with Drake May is the inconsistency, right? But even that inconsistency still resulted in a PFF grade above 90 and a turnover-worthy play rate lower than 2%. And, like the concern for him is not that big relative to some other guys. Whereas with Jaden Daniels, who has outstanding PFF grades and turnover-worthy play rate and all those kinds of things as well, the thing that's scary with him is this, like, ludicrous sack rate and, pressure to sack rate and like those things that put him in a group of quarterbacks that are all terrible and Joe Burrow. So it's like, that's a big thing to be frightened of for him.
All right, so the results are in here for our viewer mock draft. The Commanders will take Jaden Daniels. He does win 51% to Drake May getting 40%. J.J. McCarthy comes in third at 8%. That puts the New England Patriots up on the clock. And so I think we've got to give them Drake May and J.J. McCarthy, give them Marvin Harrison Jr.
And a trade down. You've got to do it.
Are we going to play the trade down game?
I mean, if you open this door, the trade down's got to start.
All right,
now.
so I'll give trade down as an option for the Patriots here. If it wins, then we'll have to have a new poll with who's trading up. Sound good?
Yep.
All right, so let's go. The 2 quarterbacks, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Marvin Harrison Jr., or trade down for the New England Patriots. By the way, the 7-round analyst mock draft, of which you and I were both a part over at PFF, is officially on the website. I did draft for New England, and I did the trade down move. I traded down, still got Michael Penix, and just accumulated picks. I think I got a lot of players. Not all the right players that I liked, but I got a lot of players. Really loaded up on offense for New England. Go check it out. You had did you have Minnesota?
Yeah.
In that? How'd you do?
Rather not talk about it.
No. Sometimes it's not what you think.
Well, I was
Sometimes
somewhat...
it's tough. It's tough having the model and other people are picking your players.
Yeah, well, so part of when you're playing GM is, we talk about this all the time, it's understanding who else is playing the game, right? And I was like, I'm going to let the quarterback slide to me because I know the way a lot of these people operate. I hadn't factored in the fact that you were New England and playing this dumb trade down game and were able to grab quarterbacks in front of me. It ruined my plan.
Oh, I ruined your plan?
Yes.
Nice. That's good. That's good. It's good to hear. I'm glad I did. I had people ruin my plan. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get some receivers in the second, and they went like 4 off the board right in front of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'll take Keon Coleman. Maybe Sam's right. Maybe he is awesome. Maybe he is wide receiver 5. Even you're making faces when I took Keon Coleman.
I've made my stance on Keon Coleman very clear. I love Keon Coleman, and I have no good reason for doing so, and that scares me.
If we do a trade down, the early winner right now for New England is Drake May. Trade down is second. 50% for Drake, 32% for the trade down. If we do a trade down for Arizona, we're not going to go through. We'll just assume the terms are good, right? Like assume you're getting a good deal,
right?
With whoever you're trading with. We'll assume that you're getting next year's first rounder and like all the fun stuff. You'll get what you want. But I am curious to see if Arizona, if we do win the vote to trade down, because they'll be between Marvin Harrison Jr. probably, Malik Neighbors, we'll say Joe Alt, and then the trade down. Looks like we're close here to having Drake May, though, be the selection for the New England Patriots. I can't wait, man. I can't wait this Thursday night to find out what actually happens, how teams actually value the quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I urge people to tune in on Thursday's episode for Nate Tice, because he is the foremost Drake May apologist out there. And we got him on essentially specifically for that reason. We've heard a lot of people criticizing or talking up Drake May's negatives, and Nate Tice has him as QB1 and really does make a compelling argument for why you should be more buying into the upside for Drake May than being concerned about the negatives.
Yeah, I'm glad you reminded people, because I was going to do that. Nate Tice on Thursday's show already recorded the interview, and he makes the case for Drake May that others aren't making, Sam. So Drake May is the pick for the New England Patriots. He defeats the trade down 49% to 31%. JJ McCarthy, again, a third place finish coming in behind Drake May here. So let's put the Arizona Cardinals. So far, we do have the 3 quarterbacks. This would be NFL history if 4 quarterbacks came off the board to start the draft. So we have Caleb Williams going to the Bears at 1, Jaden Daniels going to the Commanders at 2, Drake May to the Patriots at number 3. That puts Arizona up on the clock, and I believe we should give them those options, the trade down option, then Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt. Is that fair? The top 3, next 3 blue chip type of players on the board, and then the trade down option.
Do we need to give him Joe Alt? Just
do the 2
Harrison
receivers.
Neighbors trade down.
Harrison Neighbors in a trade down.
Which, by the way, is literally the only thing that registers on the mock draft sim. Their picks have gone Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, the end.
So we got 3 options. Let's see what's going to win here. I have a feeling we're going to have to do the trade down, and it's going to get messy. It's going to get messy over here, but we'll see.
You opened the door.
I did. People asking when Renner's coming back. I did. So I did talk to Mike yesterday. We were loaded up with interviews this week. We're gonna try to have Renner on the show after the draft. So we'll get his post-draft takes. He's still in between jobs right now, but hopefully have an announcement soon on the horizon for Mike. So checked in on him yesterday. Always love hearing our old friend Mike's draft takes, and we'll try to get him on the show here after the draft.
Nice.
See how teams did.
Nice.
How's the poll going? Right
almost 300 votes so far. And Drew, where are we going?
It's not a trade. It's not going to be a trade down.
It is Marvin Harrison's winning.
It is Marvin Harrison Jr. People are not in the trade down. They don't want it to be.
Back 2-1.
They don't want to deal with.
Also, a landslide. Down. He's not the Malik and Neighbors versus Marvin Harrison thing is not close, at least judging by this poll.
I'm interested by this. So Marvin Harrison Jr. 65%, Malik Neighbors 6% as of right now. Is that just people being influenced by us, where we've held our ground and said it's Marvin Harrison Jr., it's not Malik Neighbors, even though the NFL, a lot of people have put Malik Neighbors above MHJ?
Yeah, hard to say how much we're putting our thumb on the scales there, but that's not close.
If I put my thumb on the scale, just saying it's going to potentially break.
Yeah.
Might break a lot of
big
things
thumb.
that are weight related.
A lot of weight being added to that scale.
I think it's we're good to make a call.
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison Jr. is the pick at number 4 for the Arizona Cardinals. I don't want to do too much more trade down options. I think this is probably the last one.
Yeah, Chargers, I think if we didn't get it 3 and 4, we're not getting it, period.
So MHJ going to the Arizona Cardinals to pair with Kyler Murray. We are getting back to chalky type of draft territory here. So the 2 big names for the Chargers. Is it just 3 big options here? Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt, in the trade down? Do you
For the
throw like
Chargers?
a Brock Bowers in there?
I mean, I think I would put both wide receivers, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Joe Alt, and then if you want to put Bowers as your fourth.
No, I want one trade down option for the
You
Chargers.
want a trade down option?
I think this would be I think the Chargers should be the last trade down.
All right.
Because J.J. McCarthy's still on the clock here. Now, if I had to guess, I think this is how it could go, where the 3 quarterbacks go off the board, and if one of them was going to fall, it would be J.J. That's where I am.
If Jim Harbaugh is to be believed, I mean, he thinks
imagine
that J.J. McCarthy is the best player in this draft.
So let me explain why
If that was true, you would have to take him.
We cannot. We're still getting emails about would Jim Harbaugh trade Justin Herbert, and just so we know, by the way, the two receivers, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Joe Alt, and a trade down. Those are the options for the Chargers. We're still getting questions. Would the Chargers trade Justin Herbert and draft J.J. McCarthy? The reason why it's a no is because Justin Herbert just signed his new contract within the last year, and the dead cap hit is so massive.
But is there ever a scenario? So if he was being honest and he thinks that J.J. McCarthy is in fact the best player in this draft and therefore the best player in a lot of drafts, at what point do you take him anyway?
It doesn't. The benefit. So the benefit of having. So first off, if J.J. McCarthy is the best quarterback in the draft, that doesn't mean he's better than Justin Herbert.
Sure.
Second, the benefit of drafting a quarterback is the first contract quarterback, that first contract situation where you can build the team around him.
What if
you have that kind of dead money with Herbert, you don't have that option.
But what if you just stash him? What if you draft J.J. McCarthy knowing that he is your Aaron Rodgers, and then we don't know yet how good Justin Herbert is? We spent the last few years going, well, if we could just unlock this next 20% of Justin Herbert, you'd get, a Patrick Mahomes rival. But nobody's been able to do it yet. So what if we get J.J. McCarthy, because apparently the next Aaron Rodgers has just dropped into our laps at pick number 5, and then we just stash him for a couple of years. And then a couple of years' time, Justin Herbert's contract is a lot more easy to move, and he hasn't taken that next step, and we go, I knew it. That's why I drafted JJ.
Genius. I mean, we can at least have the conversation in the draft room, but I don't think it's going to happen. I got news for you, Sam. It's about to get crazy. Trade down looks like it's the early favorite here.
Look what you did.
In the poll. Trade down. So now I got to start thinking, if the Chargers are going to trade down, who are the trade up teams? Certainly the Vikings at 11. So these would be the 4 options for me. I would say the Giants at 6, the Vikings at 11, Broncos at 12, Raiders at 13.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Those would be the 4 trade-up teams if this all goes down.
Yep.
And it looks like it's going to.
52%
for the trade down. You want to call it?
Yep.
Let's call it for trade down in the Chargers. So the Chargers are trading down, which means we need a new poll for which team is going to trade up. The viewers are getting crazy here, Sam. It's great. And we appreciate everybody for being live here on a Monday morning. So the 4 teams to trade up influence the viewers here. Vikings number 1 on the list. Vikings, Broncos, Raiders, and Giants. The Giants moving up from 6 to 5 if they wanted to.
Well, the Giants have the benefit of the smallest jump and therefore having to give up the least. The Vikings have the benefit of having 2 first-round picks and therefore having the ammunition to make it happen already. Denver's the team that would struggle to make it work because of draft capital, but might be the most quarterback-desperate team of the 4. And then the Raiders are just sitting there with their perpetual need a quarterback.
Yeah. I've said for a while, the Broncos are the most fascinating team, I think, in this draft. They are where the Bears were a couple drafts ago when the Bears didn't have as great they didn't have the draft capital to move, seemingly, and they had one of the worst QB situations, uninspiring QB situations, we'll say, with Andy Dalton. And they went up and got Justin Fields. The Broncos, I think, are similar. Jarrett Stidham sitting there as the starting quarterback. Sean Payton being the coach is the fascinating aspect of it. It's all moot, though, because the Vikings are going to be the team that trades up here. So in the booth, I think if the Vikings trade, let's just keep it simple, right? It'll be 11 and 23 and whatever else makes sense on the chart. But for our purposes, the Vikings send 11 and 23 to the Chargers for 5. That all seem fair to at least get that for this draft.
Yeah, it might cost them more than that, but
right. I'm not going to sit here and calculate it. I don't know it off the top of my head. If we did a write-up on it, we would get the right answer. But for our purposes right now, we know that the Chargers are going to pick at 11 and 23.
Yeah, it is a lower draft spot than most trades have had Minnesota jumping up to. Like, it's usually up to 4 or up to 3.
Right.
This is only up to 5. So yeah, whatever. It's going to cost them 11, 23, and maybe some other tinkering.
All right. So
I don't think, though, getting from where they are 11 to 5 is not going to be 3 first-round picks the way, it's not going to match the San Francisco trade for Trey Lance.
What are the options for Minnesota then? So the Minnesota Vikings, breaking news. The Minnesota Vikings have traded up to number 5 overall. And who are we going to put on the board here? J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix?
I mean, it's
Bo
just,
Nix?
It's just McCarthy.
You're just going to have a one-man poll here.
Just do it. It's not.
This is hearsay. Give the people an option. What if they want Penix?
Okay.
Other teams
Fine.
may value Penix as a top 5 pick.
Okay.
Just saying.
This poll lasts for like 7 votes until McCarthy is obviously the guy.
As of right now, J.J. McCarthy at 100%.
Yes.
In the poll.
Right. Now we've got 150 votes and it's 82%.
Bo Nix has some. If Renner's in the chat, he might give Bo Nix the vote here.
Call it. It's 80% plus. It's him.
We're calling it. It's J.J. McCarthy to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, we have a unique mock draft here, Sam.
Do we?
I haven't seen this everywhere. It's usually the Cardinals trading out, and now we've got the Chargers doing it. J.J. McCarthy.
I would be very surprised if that was unique in this mock draft landscape.
We're going to enter this. We're going to enter this into the mock draft contest.
Oh, okay.
We should enter this. Not mine, where I say, here's what I'll do, where I always come in last, even though it's better. We should enter this into the contest. All right, that puts the Giants up on the clock at 6. Do we go, I think, Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt, Roma Dunze?
Yep.
Those are the picks?
You want 4? What's your 4th?
Bowers? I think Bowers is going top 10. I think he should be in all the top 10 conversations here.
Okay.
Throw Bowers in there. Maybe Fuaga, just if you wanted another right tackle, but I know Giants fans will not let the tackle win.
Yeah, I mean,
storm the chat.
The QB is the other thing that the Giants have been talked about, but they're all gone. So
yeah, I would put a QB in here if one of the top 4 were still here. As much as I'm saying, hey, Penix could go top 5 or whatever for people, I think we put Penix back up on the board with Nix at 12 and 13 for the Broncos and for the Raiders when they get up there again. So Giants are picking Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt, Roma Dunze, or Brock Bowers right now. I have a feeling I know where it's going to go. I forget who I was watching. Who was I watching the other day for LSU? Maybe just a little bit more refresh on Jaden Daniels. And it was one of those Malik Neighbors plays. Catches the ball in the flat and just outruns everybody. And, man, sometimes it's good to just see it over and over again. It popped, man. It really popped. Malik Neighbors and his explosiveness and all of the rumors that people have him over Marvin Harrison Jr. I get it. I get it, even if I don't want to necessarily go that way. Oh, yeah, we know nothing about the Giants situation. Yeah, tell me more, Tariq, yes. Tell me more about the Giants situation in the chat. Know plenty about their situation. They were overrated in 2022. They overachieved, and they're still rebuilding is what they're doing. Malik Neighbors is the guy, though. Malik Neighbors is the pick for the New York Giants at 6. So 4 quarterbacks and 2 receivers off the board so far in our viewer mock draft.
Yep. Here's another one that doesn't require much in the way of time.
Do we just put Joe Alt up there?
Well, apparently we need to give them the vote. So go on then.
Who'd you
Joe
put?
Alt. 3 random people. Doesn't matter.
Joe Alt, Roma Dunze, Brock Bowers. The Titans have been linked to Brock Bowers, apparently.
Yeah. They had like
They have a sleepover with him?
No, I think like the GM said they need like a tight end upgrade, which felt like an unnecessary drive-by on Chigakonkwo. But yeah, it did start rumors of Brock Bowers.
Let's just do those top 3 offensive players. I mean,
it's already in
don't
there.
even.
Don't worry about
whatever, good. But this is, I've said for months now
we
that
can already call it.
What?
And we can already call
it. I've said for months this is a sprint to the podium type of move. Joe Alt at left tackle for the Tennessee Titans. Now we're cooking, man. We're cooking. Our viewers are less. They're not as long-winded as we are. You know, they just get right to it.
Well, the voting speaks. It takes care of it.
So Joe Alt at 7. Now, as we say every year, this is where things get a little bit more difficult as we get further down the board, even just picking the right top 4.
Yeah, this is where it gets problematic.
So if you're the Falcons at 8, they have been most likely linked to Dallas Turner.
Yes.
There are rumblings from draft media.
Rumblings.
Here are the 2 rumblings that I've heard. Our friend Lance Zierlein from NFL.com, and then Louis Riddick, also a friend. Both guys making cryptic type of statements like, hey, you know, we think we knew who the top defensive player on the board was going to be. But I don't know if that's really the case. Let's rethink that a little bit, basically, paraphrasing here. And so what I'm gathering 2 things here. There's a lot of late buzz from Daniel Jeremiah as well for Byron Murphy II of Texas, who I know you like quite a bit. I think Byron Murphy, so that if I was going to say which 2 players might be in the mix for the Falcons who are not Dallas Turner, I would say Laiatu Latu and Byron Murphy II. I think both of those guys are more in play than people thought, where everybody thought that the chalk pick was Dallas Turner.
So why don't we give them 2 edge rushers and 2 D tackles? Give them Turner, Latu, Johnny Newton, and Byron Murphy.
I don't think Newton's in the mix.
Why not?
But I understand what you're saying.
Why is he not in the mix?
I don't think he's going to have the same type of top 15 hype that Byron Murphy has.
Why?
Because that's just where's the consensus board at the moment. I think the consensus has Murphy surpassing Newton. Like even the consensus board right now has Murphy at 17 before some of this buzz is kicking in, and Newton at 26. Newton's closer to the second round than he is the top 10, I believe. I'm just saying as far as perception goes.
Yeah, the perception also has Dallas Turner as the clear number 1 guy, and we're giving him alternative options.
Fine, we can throw him in there. I don't care. I'm just saying, if I was going to throw other guys in there, I think it would be like the top corner or something, but then we'd have to debate that. So anyway, do we have that for the Falcons? Let's go Byron Murphy, Dallas Turner, Laiatu Latu, and whatever else.
I mean, give him a corner, but then it's which one? Quinion Mitchell is the guy with the highest percentage in the mock draft sim. Highest outside of the Dallas, Turner, and Latu.
All right. Let's go. The poll's out there. Dallas Turner has been the guy that most people think is the pick for the Falcons. But again, we're hearing rumblings elsewhere. What are your thoughts on Byron Murphy and the late buzz for him maybe going top 10, top 15?
Byron Murphy is really good. He doesn't, however, win cleanly very often. He's kind of an interesting player in that he's always winning, but it's always slightly ugly. Not ugly, but it's like he's almost always working his way to the ball carrier through a block, as opposed to, it's interesting, if you watch him and Newton back to back, almost all of Johnny Newton's wins are clean. Like he's closing on the ball carrier without a blocker on him by the time the play is ending, whereas Murphy is closing on the ball carrier, working his way through a block at the time. They're sort of fascinating for 2 theoretically similar players in terms of they're both going to be NFL 3 techniques. They win in very different ways.
All right, so this is where I thought earlier that we might be the influencers for saying Marvin Harrison Jr. by a mile over Malik Neighbors. Our people are not being influenced by us in our anti-Dallas Turner propaganda. He might be the pick here for the Falcons. He's the leader. It might be good enough to call it. Dallas Turner at 44%, Laiatu Latu second at 25% here for the Falcons. I will say what I put out there recently about Turner and his ability to drop into coverage and the way Raheem Morris was running his scheme with the Rams. I do think that could be a factor, the versatility of Dallas Turner, the athleticism. He's a productive player he did get better last year, almost a 90 pass rush grade, Dallas Turner. He's a good prospect.
Yeah.
I'm just not surprised that some other names are being mentioned up there with him. But our people are going with what has been the chalk pick so far. So Dallas Turner is the pick here at 8 for the Atlanta Falcons in our viewer mock draft. That puts the Bears up on the clock at number 9. I think it's Rome Odunze and Brock Bowers on the offensive side of the ball, but I think the other couple edge defenders should both be in the mix, Laiatu Latu and Jared Verse. Any thoughts on?
Do you want to offer them a trade down? Because this has been a popular trade down for one of those quarterback teams, except all the quarterbacks are gone. But
I don't.
Would a team jump up for Rome Odunze or Brock Bowers, or even one of the corners?
I mean, the Jets could be interesting. There's a lot of – the Jets are one pick away. The Bears traded up last year, one pick. Would they trade down one pick this year? The Jets are interesting because maybe they want the receiver and not Brock Bowers. There are some rumblings that they wouldn't go Brock Bowers, but they might. There's some rumblings, again, coming out of New York media that the Jets and the Giants both want receivers.
You're very tuned in to rumblings for this.
A lot of rumblings.
Having established that we're in lion season and nothing that you hear until Thursday is accurate, you're in on all of it.
Every year.
Yeah.
Every year. I tell you, I'm in on it. I'm going to get suckered in.
And never learn.
I wake up, I scroll Twitter, I read some stuff, I believe it, and then spew it here.
Yeah.
That's how we do it.
Uh-huh. Every year. Never learn the lesson.
I'm done with the trade down, so.
Okay. I mean, it was your idea, so. So Odunze is your one for Chicago. Who else?
Odunze and Bowers. They've been discussed having
Bowers?
both.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I know they have tight ends. I'm just saying that I think Bowers is worth it. I think he should go this high. I think anybody that's talking about those receivers should at least be talking about Bowers, and he should be in the mix no matter who their tight ends are on the roster. And I know they've got Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett.
Yeah, both of them. Like,
yeah,
Chicago,
Brock Bowers,
surely not drafting Brock Bowers.
He's the big slot. Go with Keenan Allen.
But they already have big slots.
But I think edge defenders, the other, Latu and Verse, should both be in the mix there for the Bears. I wouldn't be surprised if it went edge at 8 and 9. I would go Odunze, but I'm just saying.
Okay,
I wouldn't
so
be surprised.
Odunze, the two edges, and who's the fourth? You want Bowers in there?
I wanted Bowers. Do you want someone else? You want to put a corner in there?
I just think, I mean, even in the world of not drafting for need, I feel like Bowers is slightly insane.
Would they ever go with a guy like Fashanu? Like, how attractive is a guy like Fashanu we love as a pass blocking tackle? And then moving Braxton Jones, who's been a pretty solid tackle, moving him around.
I'm kind of fascinated by whether the NFL, like whether this whole slide for Fashanu has been an artificial construct, and actually the NFL sees him the way everybody else did in January, which is he's like 1A with Joe Alt and is probably a better pass protector than Joe Alt. Like, if the NFL views him like that, he's a top 10 player.
Yeah. I got to do some more research on this, but I just want to throw a Brock Bowers take out there. A lot of the analytics people are talking about it's, tight end's not a premium position. Don't use it on Brock Bowers.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if we're talking apples to apples here. I think it's a very similar spot to a couple years ago with Kyle Pitts. Now, Kyle Pitts is like the cautionary tale because he hasn't had top 4 overall type of production. However, he had a 1,000-yard season and was a very good player as a rookie. How much do we blame the horrible quarterback situation and the fact that Arthur Smith certainly was not featuring Kyle Pitts? Now, is that a feature of this is why you don't do it? Or is that just, hey, they didn't have a good plan for Kyle Pitts. They should have taken Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase as a receiver fits in everywhere. I think Brock Bowers and Kyle Pitts are unique prospects. And the first tight end off the board the last few years is nowhere close. Like Trey McBride went in the second, Dalton Kincaid, you've got Cole Kmet in 2020, TJ Hawkinson. To me, TJ Hawkinson was a fake top 10 pick. He shouldn't have gone in the top 10. So if you compare Brock Bowers to TJ Hawkinson, and I know Hawk's become a really good player. It took him 4 or 5 years to get to his standard. But those are the types of picks that people are using against Bowers. I believe an elite tight end is one of the most valuable positions in football. So now you're chasing it with Bowers and you'd have to feed him and make him the big slot and move him around. And I just think he's worth it. And I just think comparing Brock Bowers to Kyle Pitts and TJ Hawkinson, the last 2 top 10 picks, and figuring out the value and is that worth it, I don't think it's fair. I don't think we're in apples to apples territory.
My worry for Bowers is how good the NFL is at identifying a special tight end as opposed to just decent ones. So to me, a more interesting comparison is Dalton Kincaid, who had very, very high level receiving skills coming out, and when the 20s somewhere, right? And had a pretty good rookie year. And and got better as the year wore on. It was a pretty important part of that team in a similar role, right? They designated him very early on as like, you're a big slot. You're not really a tight end. But he had 600 and something yards, and he was a solid part of the offense. Yeah. But he's not like, wow, this was game changing. This is absolutely worth a high end first round pick. That I think is the bigger concern. Like, what if Bowers comes in and with all of his special traits and abilities is just good instead of elite?
Or what if, would you take Sam Laporta and what he brought to the Lions at 8, 9, or 10?
Yes, but Sam Laporta was what, the third tight end off, or no, he
was second
Mayer.
Off the board.
Right, he was one pick ahead of Mayer.
Yes.
But he was the consensus third tight end that year, was the second guy off the board, and then was the most productive ever in terms of immediate production.
All right, the pick is in for the viewers. It's Roma Dunze, 64%. By a mile, really. Number 2 is Jared Verse, actually, at 15% for the Bears. So Roma Dunze going to the Bears. I do love this. I think when the Bears were doing all their maneuvering this offseason and we realized that they were going to be picking high and that the Panthers were going to be picking high, we were thinking about Caleb Williams. Will Caleb Williams actually get Marvin Harrison Jr.? Well, Caleb Williams is going to have Roma Dunze in this scenario, and it's a very likely potential draft scenario here. So I love this for the Bears. Puts the Jets up on the clock where most people are giving them Brock Bowers. Of course, he'll be one of the options. And I think you give them the next couple tackles, right? Talise Fuaga. We love Olu Fashanu. And maybe throw J.C. Latham in there as well. Is there anywhere else that the Jets could go here besides tight end or tackle?
Yeah, I mean, tight end, the tackles, you have to say they're drafting for whoever can make the most immediate impact, and it probably has to be on offense with Aaron Rodgers there.
A couple years ago, Jamison Williams, the speedy receiver, went at number 12 overall. Is Brian Thomas Jr., even though we see him lower, he's wide receiver 4 by the consensus here. Is it too high for him to be considered here, knowing that they've got Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams on the roster? Brian Thomas Jr. actually a really good fit for the Jets as that deep threat, especially right now. Could he actually be considered here if they didn't want to go with the less premium position of tight end?
Yeah, I mean, if they believe he's in that kind of mold, and that kind of mold is as good now or as potent now as it was a couple of years ago, then, I mean, he's 18 on the consensus board. We're talking crazy about moving him to 10. Yeah, it's at least a discussion.
Throw him in. Brock Bowers and Brian Thomas Jr. as far as playmakers go, and then the 2 tackles, Fuaga and Fashanu, and we'll let Latham sit out this one for now.
Okay.
And it's the Jets on the board. Yeah, so I'm just rethinking the Bowers thing. Is if he hits, it's worth it, right? It's just so I think having an elite tight end is a great value because they're not going to get paid as much as a receiver and could have similar impact. The elite tight ends. But chasing an elite tight end might be the challenge there. And then if they only land at solid and good, then it feels like you're giving up a pick on a premium position on a draft loaded in premium positions, tackles, receivers, edges, loaded at the top. So it's if he doesn't become an elite tight end.
Yeah, and simply identifying that guy. I think the NFL is worse at identifying high-end tight ends than it is identifying high-end receivers at the moment.
This is really close, by the way. I have not seen a lot of Olu Fashanu to the Jets at 10. I've seen a lot of Brock Bowers, and they're within percentage points right now. We're going to take it to the wire here. Brock Bowers, Fashanu, and then Fuaga and Brian Thomas Jr. a distant fourth here. But Bowers and Fashanu are neck and neck. It's 1% different here. We're going to be here all night counting votes, Sam.
Yeah, that's going to make for a good podcast.
It's going to be great. We're just going to be sitting here.
Oh, he's pulling away.
Georgia fans have jumped into the chat.
Pulling away late.
I know Fashanu, you love him more than anyone else. I will give away one of Renner's takes. He loves Fashanu as well. Good. In Pass Pro. A lot of us are on the same page.
Good work, Michael.
I think my original comp for Fashanu was Laramie Tunsil. Renner was, as we were talking last night, he said, yeah, that's where I'm at.
I said he had the best pass protecting sort of feat that I had seen since Tyron Smith. He would be joining Tyron Smith on this team if that's where he went.
Comps are fun, man, when they're good.
Sometimes they're fun when they're
Sometimes they're all over the place.
I think they're fun when they're not good.
I was just looking at Fashanu from it. He's got some improvement to do in the run game. I think you can hide that a little bit depending on the scheme. Right now though, Bowers 38%, Fashanu 36%. I think once we get it over, we're at 497 votes. We just got up over 500. It might be ready to call it.
Yeah, we're at 5. Wrap it. What was the result?
Brock
Bowers by 3 percentage points.
38% to Fashanu being 35%. It's close. The people won't know how close it was in the draft room. They'll just know that the pick was Bowers.
Right.
But it was very close here.
I'm happy it was because I accidentally clicked the button on the mock draft sim.
You accidentally clicked the button. Let me reset the top 10. Why don't you think about the Chargers' next few picks here? Caleb Williams, number 1 to the Bears. Jaden Daniels, number 2 to the Commanders. Drake May, number 3 to the Patriots. Marvin Harrison Jr., number 4 to the Cardinals. J.J. McCarthy, in a trade up by the Vikings, goes number 5. Malik Neighbors to the Giants at 6. Joe Alt to the Titans at 7. Dallas Turner to the Falcons at 8. Roma Dunze to the Bears at 9. Brock Bowers to the Jets at 10. No real surprises here from our viewers so far.
Except the trade.
Draft. Except the trade. I mean, the trade was good. I liked that. And now it puts the Chargers on the clock. The Chargers have pick 11 and pick 23. If you are the Chargers, let's give them some options here. I do feel like they need to – we've been so locked into do they take a receiver or a tackle. Now that they trade down, it resets a little bit.
Well, it takes the receivers probably out of the equation.
I would say both – so I don't think Fashanu – so if you're a run-the-ball Chargers,
right.
Run-the-ball Chargers, I think you're taking Fashanu out.
I don't care about run blocking. Jim cares about run blocking.
Yeah, I care about run blocking.
Jim wants no part of Fashanu.
So I think Talise Fuaga and J.C. Latham both have to be in the mix here.
Yeah.
Both power right tackles. Then, where else could the Chargers go?
Oh, you're big on rumblings. There's been all kinds of rumblings that Troy Fautanu is ranked this high on other boards.
Oh, okay. Get Fautanu up there.
So 3 different tackles.
And then do you go
guards.
with the next best defensive player? Do you go Byron Murphy for the Chargers here?
Yeah.
Laiatu Latu. They brought back Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa.
Yeah.
But could get younger there. But I think maybe D-tackle has been an issue with the Chargers since the Phillip Rivers administration. So
Since the Rivers
right?
administration. It has.
Let's get
I mean,
Byron
right
Murphy
now,
there.
they've got a bunch of bodies, none of whom are impact playmakers on the interior. So, yeah, Byron Murphy coming in would start right away and probably be the best defensive
Fuaga,
tackle.
Latham, Byron Murphy, and throw Fautanu in there for the Chargers.
All right.
When a team trades down, it's tough because you're always thinking through this lens of them picking at 5, and then the lens changes when you're at 11. It's going to change even more when they're picking at 23.
Yeah.
Whole different group of players.
Whole different ball game.
Then the Broncos and Raiders on deck. The next couple picks, we'll give them the quarterback options, and I am curious to see if our listeners would go that way, would go with Michael Penix or Bo Nix for the Raiders or the Broncos, or if they would just go with the next best player. I think the Broncos have been linked to Laiatu Latu quite a bit at 12, and we'll see if that's where they're going to go.
Rumblings. More rumblings.
What are your thoughts on the Chargers in this culture reset this year? I think that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, and it does feel like Harbaugh will be one of those players or one of those coaches that wants to do that sort of classic old school, let's get tougher, let's get gritty, let's get those types of players in, which generally is associated or uses a byword for a run, like focusing on the run, both run blocking, run stuffing, both sides of the trenches. We want to get better against the run.
I am fascinated because you get college coaches going to the NFL, and then you're like, will they get their players? There are about 20 Michigan players who are going to get drafted.
There should be is there a line you can bet on somewhere that's like how many Michigan players?
It's got to be 4.5.
Will Jim Harbaugh end up with?
I bet it's 4.5 if there's a line. Like when Mike Sandristil is on the board in the second round. Mike Sandristil. I mean, he's got to be Jim Harbaugh's favorite player.
The Chargers started off this draft with 9 draft picks. We gave them an extra one in that trade and maybe another one. So 10, let's say it's 10 for ease of math. What percentage of their draft picks are Michigan players?
They have 10 picks?
Yes.
I think over under you said it at 4.
So 40% of their draft is going to be Michigan players.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because later, I mean, if Sandristil is on the board, they're taking him.
Junior Colson, Blake
They have
Corum.
6 offensive
even
linemen.
with J.K.
They have 6
Dobbins in there.
offensive linemen draft eligible.
Right.
Michigan. So, like, 2 of those guys.
Zach Zinter, definitely getting drafted.
Zinter's absolutely getting drafted. Sandra still, Zinter. I might not be able to get Chris Jenkins.
No, that might be tough.
And Sandra still.
Colson, Corum, though.
They'll take Junior in this. They might take Junior Colson at 23. He'll be like the Kenneth Murray down at 23 for the Chargers. That's what they did a couple years ago. How's this poll going here? Looks like Fuaga is going to be the winner here. Talise Fuaga is the pick for the Chargers. I got to say, I kind of like this. I kind of like the idea of getting Fuaga at 11. I know you're giving up a Malik Neighbors, you're giving up a Joe Alt, you're giving up a blue chip, but Fuaga, call him a tick below that from a prospect perspective for me, and then you get another pick at 23. I don't hate this for the Chargers. Mm-hmm. So Fuaga's the pick here for the Los Angeles Chargers at 11. Watching too many old drafts, man. All right, Broncos up on the clock at pick 12.
San Diego.
What are we going to do? So I'm going to put Penix and Nix and Latu for sure.
Okay.
And then who? To go Murphy again? 2 QBs and 2 defensive players? Are they in the cornerback mix?
I think they probably are at this point, just because it's the top one available.
Quinyon Mitchell?
Yeah.
Let's go Latu and Quinyon Mitchell on the defensive side, and then Michael Penix and Bo Nix at quarterback.
Okie dokie.
Will the Broncos now the draft odds for Bo Nix and Michael Penix when they were released last week? Don't know if they've been updated. We're sitting right around 32. So for whatever that's worth, I know I've poo-pooed the draft odds and whatever those projections previously, but the odds makers are looking at these guys as fringe first. Because I think they're assuming this situation arises.
Yep. 4
QBs off the board. Broncos and Raiders are here, and they're not going to play this game at 12 and 13.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough spot for Denver. Like that's why I think that the Broncos are quite desperate to make that move up and go get a guy for Sean Payton, because they have staked their reputation on. Not only is Russell Wilson not the guy, but we actively need to run him out of the building rather than pay him to be our quarterback, right? That we're already committed to this money, and yet we would rather eat the largest dead cap hit in NFL history and get rid of him. And they don't have an answer right now. Like, Jarrett Stidham is the quarterback as things stand.
Our chat is, boy, it is. Our mock draft is going off the rails here. Bo Nix is going to be the player. Bo Nix is going to be the guy. Renner's in there voting multiple times.
Renner loves Bo Nix.
Big Bo Nix.
I said to you, Bo Nix this year is Renner's this year's version of Tanner McKee.
That's fine. Renner gets his opinions, man. That's fine.
He does. Only this year they're not warping the mock draft sim by having Tanner McKee available for 6 rounds.
The chat is echoing this. It does feel like, for whatever reason, and I don't know if people are just like closing their eyes and they're saying, who looks like Drew Brees? Because a lot of people are saying Bo Nix is a Sean Payton guy. Michael Penix is not. So is it just because Bo Nix moves a little bit better? I mean, Penix just ran in like 4
that's
5s.
accuracy.
Is it just the accuracy aspect, like short area accuracy? Do we think that's what it is?
Accuracy, period, yeah.
Because I feel like people are leaning more into like Bo Nix and the movement and
no, I think
the way he throws versus the way Penix throws, more of that stuff.
I think the connection with Sean Payton is accuracy. I mean, Drew Brees is arguably the most accurate quarterback to ever play the game. If you're looking the different Penix and Bo Nix, the most obvious difference is accuracy.
All right, well, Bo Nix is the guy. We're calling it for Bo Nix. He's going number 12 in the viewer mock draft. If this gets called worst mock draft ever, it's not our fault, Sam. No. We merely gave the options. You people made the picks. You guys made them. And we appreciate it, though. We appreciate having everybody make those picks. Bo Nix to the Broncos at 12. They get their guy, or at least a guy.
They get a guy. They get a guy.
So the Raiders are up on the clock. So clearly they have Michael Penix Jr. as an option.
Yeah.
And then the best defensive players on the board, I'd say. I think you give them both corners. I don't think the Quinyon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold.
Okay.
The more consensus top corners in Latu or Byron Murphy. No, Murphy. I think they've been linked on defensive interior a little bit more.
Rumblings.
I mean, they've got Crosby, Tyree Wilson, and Malcolm Kuntz on the edge.
I mean, they're better stacked at edge than they are inside. Yeah.
So give them Byron Murphy, the two top corners, Quinyon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold, and then Michael Penix Jr.
But remember, they splashed big money on Christian Wilkins in free agency.
They did. I don't know that they're done at D tackle. Is that fair? Where's Walt? Is Walt in the chat here?
Oh, God.
Who's he want?
Don't do that.
Whoever Walt wants. No D tackle or edge for Walt, so I think we should load up on D tackles and edges. I mean, Penix is going to win this, right? Penix is going to win this by a mile.
Crazy.
And we're going to have 6 QBs in the top 12, which I don't think really happens.
Right. That might be a unique mock, having 6 quarterbacks go in the top 12, the top 13 picks.
I think some of our mocks previously have happened here.
Like, there have been, I mean, the 4 quarterbacks going in the top 10 thing is relatively common, but the idea that the next options, that both of the next 2 teams still in need of a quarterback would take them and feel like they're good fits at 12 and 13, that I haven't seen. Like, everyone generally assumes that somewhere one of those teams would go, tap out, no mas. I'm not playing this game. We're coming back in the second round. We're doing it later. We're not getting them here. The idea that both of them would just go, this guy's a fit for us, we're going to pull the trigger.
Between Michael Penix and Bo Nix, do you have a preference? I don't hate taking Penix at 12 or 13. I think I feel better about doing it for Penix than Nix personally.
Well, but what's fascinating is this actually is, you can sell it as this idea of not every team is going to have these quarterbacks ranked the same, right? And the rumblings for the Raiders and Michael Penix for a while have been pretty strong. Like, they love Michael Penix. They think he's better than whatever the QB6 that this is. Like, if the Raiders think Michael Penix is QB3, this makes sense for them. Similarly, if Sean Payton actually does love Bo Nix and see him as the next Drew Brees, he probably has him ranked as QB2 or 3, in which case this makes sense for them because it's QB2 instead of 5 at this spot. So I doubt it happens. It seems wildly implausible and just like pattern matching. But if these teams actually do rank these quarterbacks differently in these orders, you can create a scenario where everybody's happy with their guy despite the fact that we're taking 6 quarterbacks in 13 picks.
All right, so what's happening? Michael Penix Jr., he's the pick, man. He's the pick for the Raiders here at 13. 47% defeats Quinyon Mitchell, who's 33%. That's going to be the pick in the viewer mock. We've got 6 quarterbacks going in the top 13. And if you're teams like the Saints, the Colts, the Seahawks, who all presumably have your quarterbacks, you're really looking at the 8th at worst non-QB on your board, picking at 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
The Jags at 17, the Bengals at 18. You're talking about getting top 5 to 10 players on your board who are not quarterbacks. That's a great scenario for the non-QB needy teams. So the Saints are up on the clock at 14. A few different ways they can go. I mean, I think we've given them Laiatu Latu before. I love the Olu Fashanu option here for the Saints. Who else do you like for the Saints at 14?
I would give them a couple of different options at tackle. I would give them Fashanu and then someone that isn't a one-dimensional pass blocker.
Fautanu, the versatility.
Yeah, that would make sense. We've done that before, I think, right?
Fautanu, yeah.
I would put them in the D-tackle market. Like, they have Nathan Shepard. I know they have Brian Brzee from last year, but...
So let's go Latu, Byron Murphy, Fashanu, and Fautanu.
Yeah, would they still...
Or Latham.
Latham or who's he the option versus?
Fautanu.
Okay, yeah, I mean either
or maybe instead of Murphy.
Give him the edge, give him the D tackle, and then pick
Latu,
2 tackles, Fashanu,
Murphy,
and whichever one your favorite is.
Latu, Murphy, Fashanu, and then Fautanu or Latham, whoever they decide in the booth here. This is where, I mean, it's way more difficult here because realistically every team at 14, 15, 16, they could go 7 or 8 different ways, whereas the teams at the top really can go just 3 or 4 different ways unless they're really reaching. So it is harder to pick the options to choose from here. So don't get mad. Just don't get mad if we don't get the right options. What do you like for the Saints here?
I do like Fashanu. I think that would make a lot of sense. I mean, he's a top 10 talent to me. His pass blocking ability is ridiculous. It's not just the best in this draft, it's the best in most drafts. So I would take him assume you can fix the occasional lapse play where he sort of overthinks it or just gets himself in a bad position, and then figure out what you can do with him as a run blocker. And he, honestly, even if he doesn't get any better at that, I don't really care.
It does matter. Run blocking does matter for tackle value. It does. They have to do it 45% of their snaps. It is a factor.
But the rest of the snaps are getting a quarterback killed.
I will continue with my take here. If Fashanu goes, the Saints are presumably running something Shanahan-y as far as the system goes, which I think would be a nice fit for Fashanu to ease in as a run blocker, some sort of wide zone heavy scheme. I know Shanahan continues to evolve, but I think that would be good for Fashanu as he's learning. He's going to be the pick here for the Saints, though. Get him in there. Probably, we've talked about this before, I'd keep him at left tackle, flip Trevor Penning to right tackle if Ryan Ramczak's having his health issues, and go from there.
Yep.
But I like this a lot for the Saints. Olu Fashanu is the pick. Penn State tackle at 14.
The chat is writing in Spencer Rattler as a pick.
People want Rattler as an option.
We can't. It's not happening in the first round. Cannot happen.
We're not ruining the mock, guys. We can't do it. And it's your mock, but like mostly your mock. You know, it can't be. You can't write in Spencer Rattler. I mean, you can keep typing it in the chat. It's good for us. You know, it's good. You know, people are interacting with the PFF NFL podcast. Good for the algorithm and YouTube. Type it in all you want. It's good for us. It's not good for the mock draft, though.
It's not good mocking.
Can't do that. But you should hit the thumbs up, too. You can thumbs up all you want, or at least just once. Because then it
one thumbs up equals
it
one vote for Spencer Rattler?
Yeah. If you want Spencer Rattler, hit the thumbs up button on the YouTube channel here. And the subscribe button. Why not? Do both.
And the bell.
And the bell.
So you get notified when we're going live
that
at
all
1 a.m.
leads to Spencer Rattler. If you do all that, maybe we'll put Rattler in the mix for Seattle at 16. Right now, it's the Colts at 15. Brian Thomas Jr. has to be an option here.
Yep.
Just who are the top athletes in the...
Brian Thomas Jr., Cooper. Have you seen how that's supposed to be pronounced?
Dijon.
Yeah,
Dijon.
like Dijon, like the mustard.
No, it said Dijon, right?
No. It didn't. It specifically did not say
that's
that.
French. That makes sense.
It's well, sort of. It's Dijon is his name, not Dijon. He wants it said Dijon, like the mustard.
Dijon.
Yes.
Okay.
D-double-E, Jean.
Whatever he wants.
No. It's a name. It's a name that exists in French. We know how it's said, right? It's long established lore of how to say this name. No, Dijon. Dijon is how you say that name. Now, I don't think that we should make accommodations for how, like, if you rock up with a name, Murphy, right? And everyone starts saying, hey, look, there's Steve Murphy. And you're like, no, it's Murphy. But it isn't. It's not said that way.
Just pro tip here, Sam. If you save your rant for after we have the poll set.
Well, anyway, he's in it. Cooper Mustard.
Cooper Mustard.
Yep.
Quinyon Mitchell.
Yep.
Brian Thomas Jr.
Yep.
And who else?
Who's the other freakiest athlete?
Latu and Murphy here too?
I mean, Latu, yeah. At some point, I think Latu almost has to stay in all these polls.
Anybody could take Latu.
Yeah, as just a live option at
Terry
any stage.
Arnold's next on the consensus board, followed by Jared Verse. I feel like Verse doesn't have this athleticism of a Colt, but he's a good player. Pick one. Did we get the last guy?
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
You're not helpful.
Yeah.
Just put in Arnold.
No, it's in. It's in
we
there.
got it?
It's in.
Poll's good. All right. At some point, we just got to give options. Those are the right options. Those are good. Those are the right options. Now you can rant.
We shouldn't have to accommodate silly pronunciations of names that are said something differently. Like it's an established name. We know how that's said. I don't need instructions, particularly when they're wrong.
What's the right way to say my name?
Palazzolo?
Palazzolo.
Yeah, but that's different. That's not.
It's better.
Like that's being lazy and not pronouncing it correctly is different to like we don't. No, you're just saying it wrong. This is how you're supposed to pronounce it.
Monson.
Yeah, see again, different. It's a U, not an O. It's wrong.
Didn't they spell it Monson?
No.
Okay. You would never say Monson for Monson. How's this poll going here?
Although apparently people in the so there's an area of this
Keep the
country.
energy up. We're halfway through.
There's an area of this country where they do say that,
Good for them. They should.
even though it's wrong.
Man, Quinyon Mitchell's the runaway pick here.
Really?
Yeah. Quinyon Mitchell here. I really think
Have we poisoned the well with our Brian Thomas Jr. hate over the last couple of months?
we may have. Not enough on Dallas Turner, apparently, but we may have poisoned the well a touch. Quinyon Mitchell's the pick. Toledo corner. First corner off the board in our mock draft. Appreciate you people picking, being bold here with Quinyon, helping that outside corner situation, which is very young for the Colts, but I think Mitchell upgrades it at pick 15.
Doesn't make it older, but it does.
Doesn't make it older, but
probably
I think it upgrades it. All right, Seattle Seahawks are at pick 16 here. Fautanu has to be an option here.
Sure.
There's been a lot of Jackson Powers Johnson as an option here. And then do we give them a couple defensive players to choose from? Latu and Murphy in the mix there as well.
What does the analysis say on there? So they have the most popular draft picks on the mock draft sim for Seattle are Latu, Fautanu, Jared Verse, Dallas Turner, Jackson Powers Johnson,
so
and
let's
Byron
do
Murphy.
that. Let's do the top 4. So that puts Murphy out. So Latu, Troy Fautanu, Jared Verse, Jackson Powers Johnson.
Okay.
Let's do those.
It's actually Edge is getting 42% of the vote for Seattle in this pick using the sim. That's a lot larger than I would have thought.
Yeah, because, interior offensive line are the needs. They just signed somebody, I think. But they've said they don't want to pick a guard, but Fautanu's got that versatility. Nice to have. We'll see how high he ends up going.
And, Lion season.
By the way, it's important to me that supplements I take are of the highest quality, and that's why for the last few years we've been drinking AG1 here on the PFF NFL podcast. Unlike many supplement brands, AG1 conducts relentless testing to set the standard for purity and potency. AG1 is constantly searching for how to do things better. At 52 iterations of their formula and counting, their team is always trying to find better ways to source, test, and aim to find the best quality ingredients available. It's researched and developed by an in-house team of scientists, doctors, nutritionists with decades of experience in their respective fields. So many people have asked me if AG1 is actually the real deal, and trust me, there's a reason why we've been drinking it for so long. Quality for AG1, it's not just a buzzword, it's a commitment backed by expert-led scientific research, high-quality ingredients, industry-leading manufacturing, and rigorous testing. At each step of the process, AG1 goes above and beyond industry standards. So we've partnered with AG1 for so long because they make such a high-quality product that we genuinely look forward to drinking every single day. So if you want to replace your multivitamin and more, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and free AG1 travel packs with your first subscription at drinkag1.com/PFF. That's drinkag1.com/PFF. Go check it out right now. All right, how we looking here? Seahawks will select.
Fautanu.
Looks like Troy Fautanu is going to get the call. Staying local up there in Washington.
Staying local.
Oh, he's a local guy. That's right. Washington going to Seattle. Troy Fautanu is the pick for Seattle. Probably kick into guard for them with that tackle flexibility if needed.
You would assume they're not going to move on from Abe Lucas, but it's possible, I guess.
All right, Fautanu is the pick at 16. That puts the Jags up on the clock at pick 17. There's a few teams here where I think Brian Thomas Jr. has to be in the mix and probably is for Jacksonville. Even though they brought in Gabe Davis, does that feel redundant?
A little bit.
I mean, we think that, but I don't know if the NFL thinks that. They think Brian Thomas Jr. has more potential. I think he's got to be one of the picks. I think Latu has to. Is that too much? Because they just re-signed Josh Allen, they've got Trayvon Walker, and they brought in Eric Armstead?
I mean...
Imagine that line.
Yeah.
And the versatility
I
there.
think corner is the obvious spot that is going to be corner should be at least 50% of this poll, and then 2 other people.
So I think Terry and Arnold should be in there.
Yep.
I still think Brian Thomas Jr. should be an option.
Okay. Cooper Mustard.
I don't think Cooper's going that high.
I mean, we had him as an option for the Colts.
Yeah, but because of the athleticism.
Oh, Jacksonville doesn't care about athleticism?
Not
Mr.
like the
Trayvon
Colts.
Walker, number 1 overall?
Not because of the dunks. Because of the dunks. Should there be a tackle in there or Verse?
Verse could be an option.
I think Verse, Latu, Mustard, and Brian Thomas Jr. or Terry Arnold and Brian Thomas Jr. Because DeJean's not a pure outside corner.
Maybe. I mean, he might be to some people. There's no reason he can't be.
I mean, I like Arnold more than him, and Arnold is much higher on the consensus board than DeJean.
Sure.
Dijon.
Mustard. It's not that much higher. I mean, 12 versus 19. They're both top 20 players.
They drafted a tackle in the first round last year. Still probably have offensive line needs for some depth. Everybody wants Spencer Rattler. All right, what's our final call here?
Arnold should be one.
Arnold. Byron Murphy.
Yeah.
Didn't even mention him before.
I would give them another corner option. I would give them Mustard. And then one other you want to give them Brian Thomas Jr.
Sure. Is Latu even in there?
No.
Ugh.
It's already up. Done. Forget it.
It's up. Jags at 17. This is where things can veer. Things can veer a whole bunch of different ways.
Things can veer.
I mean, this is where you should just be picking the best players anyway.
Well, most places.
Yeah, not worrying about needs. Just pick the best. What would I do at this point?
You would trade for T. Higgins.
What would the model do?
Or Brandon Ayuk.
At this point. Oh, I would absolutely trade this pick for Brandon Ayuk. My options, Brandon Ayuk or Terrion Arnold. Because Arnold would be my pick, I believe.
How high would you go to trade for Brandon Ayuk, knowing that you'd need to give him the contract?
Just hear me out here.
Okay.
We said in the 2022 NFL draft, A.J. Brown was the best player that any team picked up in the first round. If you were the Jaguars in the 2022 NFL draft, would you rather have Trayvon Walker at 1 or A.J. Brown at 1 plus his contract?
Uh-huh.
Who's going to make more of an impact? Bang for the buck. Now, would you, if you were the Lions, knowing how good Aiden Hutchinson has been and having a cheap edge contract, I think you could still make an argument that you'd rather have A.J. Brown than Aiden Hutchinson. I wouldn't do it because of the value of what he's become. But I think A.J. Brown in 2022, plus his contract, more valuable than all but, Aiden Hutchinson and a couple others maybe in the first round? That's it. Like the other first rounders that have hit at receiver, like Garrett Wilson, like some of the other receivers who have hit.
I just wanted you to state this very definitively and clearly for the record so that it can become a 30-second short that goes viral.
Yeah.
What exactly are you saying, Steve?
As far as what, the A.J. Brown discussion or?
No. How high a draft pick would you trade away to secure Brandon Ayuk?
10. The number 10 overall pick is enough to go get an elite receiver and still pay him. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Depending on who's on the board. I think in this draft, especially if you got blue chips through 9, I think you got blue chips through 9 available, non-QBs. And then once you fall out of blue chip territory, then you trade him for a QB.
Terrion Arnold has won this poll.
Terrion Arnold at corner.
In a landslide.
Who has the greasy hips, Sam?
Greasy hips.
Per Chris Sims.
Greasy hips.
I like that description because the man can play man coverage. All right, that puts the Bengals up on the clock at pick 18. Let me grab Arnold here for the Jags. The Bengals are, as always, right tackle talk.
Yeah.
So it feels like J.C. Latham and Amarius Mims.
Byron Murphy.
Need to be in there. Byron Murphy needs to be in there.
Is it just the 2 tackles and the 2 D tackles?
I'm telling you, I did a mock the other day, and Latu was still on the board there, and I took him for the Bengals. I don't care that they have Trey Hendrickson. I don't care if they have Sam Hubbard. I don't care.
You don't care.
That they drafted Miles Murphy last year.
What if his neck's in ribbons?
What if his neck's in ribbons? I don't know. But he's got to be an option here.
Okay.
With these guys.
So who are you leaving out?
I'm leaving out Johnny Newton.
Stop.
Johnny Newton's not going to win over Byron Murphy, I don't think.
Why not? In the mock draft sim, they are separated by less than a percentage point.
That's because Newton's ranked ahead of him most of the season.
Look, you can't argue with maths. It's right there.
By Trevor. And now Murphy's making a comeback.
He's only ranked 1 spot ahead of him, by the way.
All right, so do it. Murphy, Newton, Latham, and Mims.
There you go. See? That wasn't that hard.
What does Eli want? Eli's in the booth. Pick somebody, Eli. Who do you want? You would want Latu, wouldn't you? What you got, Eli?
Eli's vote counts for one, like everyone else's.
Yeah,
One
but he didn't
person,
even
one
put
vote.
Latu in there. He didn't override
No, I can't.
your awful
Can't
take.
make a push poll. That would be cheating.
All right. Who would you go here? Where would you go?
I would go D tackle.
I think the Bengals are in a really good spot to get a good player. If they go tackle, remember, Trent Brown's in for a year. This is future-proofing. For you, J.C. Latham might be playing some guard. Mims is a guy people look at as developmental and might work perfectly as a developmental tackle behind Trent Brown if he doesn't have to play right away.
I'm a big fan, by the way, of like either one of those guys being added, Latham or Mims. You are only enhancing the size of the offensive tackle group that you have there.
I mean, with me in the mix, too, and we're just a big city. It's just a group of big dudes here around
Just
Cincinnati.
one day, that whole collection of people is going to rock up at a restaurant and ruin them.
I'm going to be walking around Kenwood Mall, not the biggest guy, because you know they're going to be there, walking around, hanging out. Where's the poll? The poll's very close here. Wow. J.C. Latham just ahead of Byron Murphy the second so far. 2% difference right now.
What are we cutting it at, 400?
I want to let's get to 500 votes. Are 500 people going to vote?
Slow down. We're not getting to 500.
We'll get to 400 votes. Once we get to 400 votes, we'll call it. Latham at 34%, Murphy at 30%. Latham might be pulling away here with 3 votes to go. Somehow the votes went down. All right, let's call it. As of now, it looks like Latham. Let's see what the final poll says here for the Bengals.
Yep.
It is J.C. Latham, Alabama right tackle. Chris Sims, top tackle on the board. Sims will love this pick. I'm a J.C. Latham fan. I think that's a good pick right here. And again, I think Cincinnati is in a good spot to improve their team at 18. I like the teams picking in this range right now, especially if all the quarterbacks come off the board as they did.
All right, so if this happens, do you play him at guard or does he just redshirt?
I would probably give him a shot at guard to start. Yeah. I want to get the best 5 on the field.
Okay.
And he's got a chance to be the best 5, playing right tackle for me next year, for sure. All right, the Rams are on the clock at 19. A lot of Latu picks for them through the years. They already have Kobe Turner, but do they get the 2 defensive tackles in there with Aaron Donald retiring?
I would definitely put Byron Murphy in the thing. This is one where I think you might lose Johnny Newton from the poll because I'm not sure that he and Kobe Turner coexist particularly well in the same defensive front.
Latu, Jared Verse, they've got some work to do at tackle as well. They don't really have a left tackle of the future, so to speak. I don't think they're all in on Joe Noteboom there. So, Marius Mims, Graham Barton.
Mike Quinn, also Cincinnati fan, says that he'd pick up Latu from the airport personally.
Yeah, and he wasn't even in the poll.
I know.
Right? Like, Quinn and I are going to go welcome him at Cincinnati International Airport or whatever. At CVG in Kentucky.
Covington, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to dress as Elf?
I will. Yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll do it.
All right.
They've got Star Wars night at the Reds game. I'll tell you in a second. Saying if you can get me a Chewie costume, I will go to the Reds game dressed as Chewie.
I'll do that.
On May 4th.
Oh, May 4th.
With my kids.
I was going to say, I would save it for like the hottest day of the year.
I'd rather not, but I will go to the game as Chewie if they allow me to with 1 or 2 of my children who want to go to Star Wars night. All right, who else do we got for the Rams here?
Poll's already out there. It's Latu, Byron Murphy, Jared Verse, and Amarius Mims.
So real interesting. We know that Peter Schrager's good friends with Sean McVay. And the report that Peter came back with was the Rams, their first round pick since 2016. Schrager's going on record saying they're either trading down or picking an offensive player.
Yeah, this is fascinating to me. In situations like this where because a lot of the time it's insider report something. It's like, who is the source? How well does he really know that person? How accurate is that information? In this scenario, we know exactly what the source is. Like, he is actually friends with Sean McVay. So the quality of the source is unimpeachable. But how much information is Sean McVay going to be giving Peter Schrager to relay to the public? It's not going to be what they're doing, is it?
And also, at what point was it like, Peter, we were having a beer together. We're friends. I'm going to tell you some stuff, but please don't report it.
That's what I mean. So, let's assume, everything that Peter Schrager says about the Rams at this point is theoretically coming from Sean McVay because they're buddies. So with that understanding, Sean McVay presumably knows that if I tell him something, I can't tell him anything that's real because it's going to go straight out there. So how do you interpret a report from Schrager about the Rams at this point in the calendar?
We evaluate it this year and we see. Like if they take Latu.
You want to track it now versus what's happening?
Latu's he's gonna win the poll here. And if that's what happens in reality, then Schrager's wrong. And it's a grain of salt going forward.
I mean, presumably we can also let's do this retroactively. What did he say last year this time?
They haven't had a first round pick since 2016.
No, but they had other picks. Like you tell me he just doesn't report to the Rams unless they have a first round pick?
Right. I think it's only a report because it's the first round. He wasn't sitting there 2 years ago being like, man, Rams are picking at 103. Keep an eye on a guard. They're going to fill their needs. So nobody cares about pick 103.
They're zoomed in on Cole Strange.
They really want Cole Strange at 103. He'll definitely be there.
It's a shame he's going to go 60 picks earlier.
Latu's the pick for the Rams, man. I love that for them.
Yep.
Again, foreshadowing Thursday night. Any team picking Latu beyond 6 is going to be getting high fives from us, most likely. So good for the Rams at 19. Steelers are on the clock at pick 20.
Whilst desperately hoping that his neck injury is not degenerative.
Of course. I see you're getting a little nervous now. You're getting a little nervous about the strong Latu takes.
Well, I think as a player, Latu is probably the best defender in this draft. I just don't know enough about his injury to know if that's a thing or not. Like, it was described recently by somebody who at least has better medical bona fides than I do, right? Which is not a high bar, but nonetheless, he wasn't a doctor, but he was like a physio or something.
Give your dad, just send your dad some reports or something.
Anyway, point is, that person was describing it in the way we were describing Marcus McNeil's back injury, which is like a thing that was known at the time that is going to shorten his NFL career. The only variable is by how much and when does it kick in. If that is what you're dealing with Latu, that is a concern. Now, I also think that will probably be overblown. If you get one contract of elite level play from Latu and then it's over, it's still worth a mid-first round draft pick. But that's the thing that we just don't know. Like, you don't know if you're getting 10 years of him or 5.
All right. Steelers up on the clock here. The 3 most common names for them, I'm not looking at the mock draft sim, but definitely Amarius Mims.
Yep.
Brian Thomas Jr. rumblings.
Not in the mock draft sim.
Not in the mock draft sim, but rumblings. And Jackson Powers Johnson.
Yep. Third guy in the mock draft sim.
Those 3 have to be. Who else in the mock draft sim?
Cooper Mustard.
Throw Mustard in there. Just for the lack of uniform change.
That would be helpful. You could wear same stuff.
Same uniform.
Doesn't even have to change.
Same undershirts and the whole thing.
Yep.
But I think Mims and JPJ and Brian Thomas Jr. hearing a lot about those 3. And Graham Barton just had a visit there. I should have put Graham Barton in instead of Mustard. Mustard's there by default.
The booth is just streamlining this process and firing the poll right up there. They're not even waiting for us to waffle.
Well, they're trying to get this show done in 3 hours.
Yeah.
Or
should know better than that.
You just yelled yes.
Yeah.
They don't get paid by the hour back there, Long week, not a lot of sleep this week, trying to get this thing moving. Marius Mims probably going to run away with this thing. He's going to run away with
48% right now.
48%. They're taking the tackle over the center.
46,
over the Hall of Fame
47.
center.
Yes, they are. Hall of Fame, it's not happening straight away anyway. Maybe they'll get him in the second round. Does it only count if it's first round centers?
Now all the Steelers fans, they're taking Graham Barton. They're taking Barton. Everyone's going to write in. If everybody writes in Graham Barton, if I get 100 people to write in Graham Barton, we'll give it to them.
You can't count the chat for the write-in.
We will.
It's not going to work.
There's 3.
Right, but there's been 370 votes. Half of them have gone to Marius Mims. So now you got to be like, there has to be 200 write-ins for Barton.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, perfect.
They're coming now.
Yeah, but not 200. They're not.
We got 1 for Austin Powers.
Are you going to...
Barton's at about 10.
Okay.
12.
Let's have a sub poll. Barton versus Mims. Go.
Fire. Oh, sub poll. Okay.
Barton versus Mims.
All right, that's fair. Barton versus Mims. Barton write-in vote has gotten himself onto the ballot. We got a runoff. Amarius Mims, Graham Barton.
This is like an episode of The West Wing.
It's The West Wing. And Barton versus Mims. It's a runoff. Here we go. Let's see what happens.
Special election.
Wow. Barton's off to a big lead to start. No, Mims is back. Mims is back. Mims is probably going to take it. No more write-in votes.
Close,
we don't need
though.
any more write-in votes.
60-40.
It's good. It's good for the algorithm. We don't need any more write-in votes. Now it's actual click votes. Actual clicks.
Is the polling thing actually good for the algorithm? I'd have done this a lot.
Not the
more.
polling. I think
I'd have been a lot more keen on this if this was like an algorithm.
We just put a poll out there for everything.
Like every week we just started doing this. 60-40, Mims is winning.
I told you, Mims. Yeah. So Graham Barton, it was a valiant effort by Graham Barton, but it's going to be Amarius Mims in the runoff. He's going to win the Steelers election here. Steelers Nation
The
is
local
thrilled
by-election
to bring in another Georgia tackle in Amarius Mims. Puts the Dolphins up on the clock here. I can't believe Byron Murphy. I mean, this is
sliding.
Byron Murphy II still out here, along with Johnny Newton.
All it takes is 6 quarterbacks to go in the first.
Murphy and Johnny Newton have to be out there with Christian Wilkins out in Miami. Graham Barton has been a very common Miami pick. And then do we throw Brian Thomas Jr. in there just because you got to have a fast wide receiver in Miami? You need a fast wide receiver option.
No.
In Miami.
No, you don't.
Xavier Worthy?
No. I think the 2 D tackles, I think JPJ, the 2 tackles and the 2 centers / guards.
Graham Barton and
JPJ, Byron Murphy, and Johnny Newton.
All right, do it. We're going in the trenches here. If you're the Dolphins, you get speed later. You get your speed guys later.
Yeah, imagine getting Xavier Worthy in the 2nd round.
If there are, I guess from here on out, just to really complicate things, if there are enough of a write-in vote for someone,
God.
Do we do more runoffs?
If there's an overwhelming volume of the same name write-in, then sure, you can have another
Have to,
runoff.
right? I mean, because it's tough. It's tough whittling this down to 4 options here. It's very difficult whittling it.
Whittling.
And who's even whittling? Byron Murphy's running away with this thing for Miami.
There you go.
He's the guy.
51, yeah.
But this shows what could happen on draft night. I think guys that are rumored to go in the top 10, and I've been pushing those rumors all show. A lot of rumblings. Byron Murphy. I mean, I just theorized.
What if the rumbling is not in fact
I'm
real?
no different than the insider who doesn't have information. When an insider doesn't have information, all they do is connect the dots.
Well,
this guy coached JJ back in elementary school, so they might draft him.
When an insider doesn't have information, they are an outsider.
Yeah, they're just us.
Which is us.
Yeah.
Now
I'm inside a couple buildings and I can't say what they say.
They're typically in a suit and looking fancier than we are, but nonetheless they are conveying the same information.
They're Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
Nobody knows, Jim. I don't know what to tell you.
They're just the outsiders.
Let me guess.
We got some vault me's coming in on Twitter. All right, Byron Murphy's the pick here, right? Yeah. Byron Murphy going to the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins fans are thrilled. I've been hearing it from Dolphins fans that they are very excited if Byron Murphy II is the pick at pick 21.
All right.
All right, that puts the Eagles on the clock at 22. Jared Verse, I think, should be in the mix here. And then a couple corners.
Yep. Mustard, Wiggins.
Mustard, Wiggins, and...
Verse and...
Put another D tackle? No, they wouldn't go another D tackle there.
It would be very Eagles.
Now things are getting thinned out. What's the consensus board
Would
looking
like? They'd be an interesting spot for a receiver. Would they do that?
Who'd they just bring in at wide receiver 3?
So they just paid
Devontae Smith.
Yeah, obviously they've got the contract for A.J. Brown still there. Paris Campbell is there. Who did they bring in? There's nobody.
Thought they had someone else.
Oh, Devontae Parker.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're going. Yeah, Paris Campbell, Devontae Parker. I don't know if they're going to go.
Wait, is that right?
Here. Is that right? It's on our depth chart.
It is right.
Good. Glad we're not wrong. Kool-Aid, give them all the corner options. And Verse.
All right.
Is there not? And they always go offensive line too. I mean, they're always in the offensive line mix. Would they get a Barton?
I mean, the chat wants JPJ to replace
no, that's
Jason
not.
Kelsey.
They're letting Cam Jurgens replace him.
All right, then they need a guard.
I don't think those centers fit. I don't know.
JPJ
maybe
does. In fact, either of those guys, they're being talked about as guards as well.
I guess I'm picturing fit, and I'm looking at 280-pound Jason Kelsey, zone blocking center, space center.
Right, so that's Cam Jurgens.
Yeah, Jurgens, but that's not JPJ or Zach Frazier.
No, but JPJ would be the guard in that situation.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
he would be replacing Tyler Steen.
Throw JPJ in there. The two corners in verse.
Like Landon Dickerson is like 330, right? And he was a center in college.
All right, fair. Get him in. Let's do it. Polls up for the Eagles. We're closing in on the 11 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
At pick. We're about on pace. This is about our pace here. Always enjoy hanging out with everybody on a Monday morning. Your last mock draft Monday of the year, Sam.
Yes. Because the mock will have happened by next Monday.
Another programming note, of course, as we said, we're going to be live Thursday night, Friday night, talking all things draft. We'll be live right after the draft. So you'll watch us live during the draft. We could be your second screen. We could be your main screen, whatever you want. Thursday night live, and then you and I are going to be doing our podcast recap right after the first round ends on Thursday night. Next week, we'll go division by division. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 2 divisions a day, all recapping the draft, grading the draft, the whole deal.
Yeah, a lot of content upcoming.
Content. It's a big week. It's a big week. Working extra. Overtime here. Where's the chat going? They're going mustard here.
It is going, mustard.
Looks like they're going mustard.
That's mustard.
Cooper DeJean is going to be the pick for the Philadelphia Eagles here. I think I would have taken Nate Wiggins. I like Wiggins. I wonder how much they would be scared after how much they crushed Emmanuel Forbes last year. But
he's much bigger than Forbes.
I understand. But Cooper DeJean's the pick here at pick 22. It puts the Chargers up on the clock at pick 23. Remember, the Chargers started with pick 5, traded down to take 11 and 23 and other stuff in the future, maybe even in this draft. But for these purposes, they take Talise Fuaga at 11 to play right tackle, and now the Chargers are back up on the clock at pick 23. What do they want to do?
They are, I think, in the market for D tackle still, so that would be Johnny Newton.
Still need a receiver.
Sure.
This is where
second wave of receivers starts.
I would go A.D. Mitchell and Brian Thomas Jr.
Okay.
To give 2 receiver options.
Johnny Newton rather.
Johnny Newton on the interior. Would they double up? Would Jim Harbaugh double up on O-line?
No.
And get Graham Barton in there to play guard? Man, he would love that.
Would he?
Would they go JPJ? Who do they have at center now? No, they just brought in somebody, right?
I don't think that the Chargers are going that hard on the offensive line. Certainly not early. I mean, Bradley Bozeman has been solid.
Oh, yeah.
Zion Johnson is a former first-round pick who admittedly hasn't played at that elite level.
No, they're pretty much okay other than – but imagine JPJ and Fuaga as the 2 picks. Oh, nothing's more Harbaugh than that. We got to throw a Michigan guy, throw like Chris Jenkins in there. He said Chris Jenkins was a top 10 pick a couple years ago. Throw Chris Jenkins in there. Right?
Okay.
Throw Mike Sandristel in there.
Stop.
No, don't. All right, what are we doing? I think the 2 receivers, A.D. Mitchell and Brian Thomas Jr. for sure. You want Johnny Newton?
Yeah.
And then corner? Could you use some corner help? Kool-Aid? Or Wiggins? Throw Wiggins in there again.
Okay.
Is that good? Good for the Chargers? Everyone vote Jenkins. If there's enough write-in votes for Chris Jenkins, we'll have a runoff between Jenkins and the winner. Brian Thomas Jr., Johnny Newton, A.D. Mitchell, and Nate Wiggins are your options here for the Los Angeles Chargers.
Oh, early lead. Runaway for Brian Thomas Jr.
Really?
How terrified would you be if you were relying on a receiving core that was Brian Thomas Jr., Quentin Johnston? Yikes.
Just a couple of your wide receiver 7s paired up as their 1 and 2 here.
Joshua Palmer, Quentin Johnston, Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, as I said, I like Brian Thomas Jr. as a complementary piece. I think if the Bills make a power move or if the Chargers are making a move, I'm a little scared of
this would be the
heavy reliance on BTJ here.
There are situations where he can land that I think he would look very good. This would be maybe the worst spot I can imagine him landing in terms of the requirements of what he needs to be.
Well said. Like a product manager. Just doesn't meet the requirements.
The requirements.
All right. Well, BTJ's the guy. Brian Thomas Jr. is the pick. Another weapon for Justin Herbert.
Yikes.
Wow, that was mean. Brian Thomas Jr. to the Chargers at pick 23. It puts the Cowboys up on the clock at pick 24. They're in the – so Graham Barton, I think, should be an option. Center should be an option. JPJ.
Yeah.
What else would you look at here?
They're not
in the receiver market for an AD Mitchell. We've given them AD before.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
Let's go AD Mitchell. That's 3 guys.
What is
I said Barton. Yeah, I started with Barton.
I mean, would Verse just be value at this point?
Yeah. Oh, that'd be fascinating.
Like Verse is a potential successor to
Marcus Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that. Throw Verse in there as they have to pay Micah Parsons. Put him in.
Done. It's on. It's cooking.
Will the Cowboys draft for need, or will they pick the best player? No Johnny Newton. We didn't give him Johnny Newton.
We did not.
They're not going to go D-tackle 2 years in a row.
Different D-tackles, but
different. Would they have Johnny Newton bulk up to 350 to complement Mozzie down at 300? What would they do there? If you could say some stuff.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Talk. I mean, there's not that much to say while we're waiting for the vote to cook, to percolate, to figure out who they're going to select.
Talk about Dallas.
Talk about Dallas. That's
I will say I think
high-level interviewing.
Talk about if they take the first running back off the board, Jonathan Brooks. If they take Brooks
in the
second round with their second round pick, are you okay with it? If the Cowboys go Blake Corum, your favorite running back, or my favorite running back, Jonathan Brooks, in round 2, given that they do have a couple other needs up front, you okay with that for Dallas?
Yeah. I mean, their second round pick is 56 overall, right? The consensus board, I think, has these running backs starting at like 60, 62, something like that. So it's vaguely in the right area, and I think the consensus this year on the running backs is a little lower on where they potentially belong. Actually, it's moved. So the consensus did have those guys starting at 62. I think it's now got Jonathan Brooks at 51 and Trey Benson at 58. So even the consensus board says that's fine.
Yeah, people are talking about running backs not being drafted till the 3rd. I think the second round has a bunch of different runs that include a chunk of receivers. I think that's where you get some linebackers and safeties off the board, where you start to get some like starters at non-value positions, and then running backs. I think we'll see some runs at some of those positions in round 2.
This is Barton, though. Lock it in.
This will be Graham Barton for the Dallas Cowboys. They're going Barton. They have a need at a couple different offensive line spots. So Barton could play all 5. So he can do whatever you want.
Allegedly.
Graham Barton, 5-position player here. And maybe an upside guy. I'm writing about upside here tomorrow. Quantifying upside, PFF.com. I'll tell you more about that in a second. Puts the Packers up on the clock. I think Jared Verse has to be an option maybe him and Johnny Newton have to be options for every single team here.
So this is interesting. Generally speaking, the drafts have unfolded that I think Green Bay is in a good position to get players at relative areas of need. This would be a draft where it hasn't really gone that way. So we've just had
what's the area of need, you think?
Well, I think their interior offensive line is a potential weakness. I think that could absolutely stand to be upgraded. I guess, if they love Jackson Powers-Johnson, he's still there. But Graham Barton going would be an obvious Green Bay type of pick. I think they could also – they've been linked to Mustard a lot. Cooper Mustard. Also
True, he's
gone.
off the board.
So just a couple of players I think that have been very commonly – so Cooper Mustard has been 27% of their drafts in the mock draft sim, right? That he's no longer available. Graham Barton is a common pick for them as well. Marius Mims has been a common pick for them. Just a lot of the guys that they've been linked with are all gone at this point.
Should they have a guy like Tyler Guyton in the mix here? He's lower on our board, but a lot of people like him in the 20s. There's your developmental tackle, of which the Packers have done a great job developing offensive linemen. I feel like a guy like Tyler Guyton might be the one of the options here. I throw Guyton, Nate Wiggins in there, Jared Verse, and Johnny Newton.
No corner.
I had Nate Wiggins.
Oh, you did?
At
okay.
corner. Or you can put Nate Wiggins and Kool-Aid.
That's already in there. Polls up. It's Verse, Newton, Guyton,
Guys
Wiggins.
are quick. Are we going to get out of here by 11 if they keep putting these polls out that quick?
We're a step away from them just ignoring us completely, throwing up their own poll, and us just having to react to it. That's going to be the last couple of picks.
A lot of people want Tyler Nubin in there. I do not see Nubin as the same level of I don't see him as a first-round safety prospect. Let's just say that. I don't know, where is he on the – he's a fringe first-rounder. Consensus board has Nubin as the top safety, but at pick 50. So the consensus board has Tyler Nubin at 50, Javon Bullard from Georgia at 57, and then Jaden Hicks from Washington State at 73. It is a weak safety class by perception here. I don't foresee Nubin going in the first round. The safety class generally, just the safety market generally has been very weak, right? We saw a lot of starters just get released. Teams don't want to pay safeties, and it coincides with a year where safety is either not good in the draft or just devalued. I remember in past years, the random safety would go in the first. Darnell Savage was a late riser going in the first round a few years ago. Terrell Edmonds was a late riser at safety going in the first round. That used to be commonplace. I don't foresee that this season.
So here's a question for you, as GM Palazzolo. If you were, how would you treat Nate Wiggins' weight, right? So Nate Wiggins did the thing that a lot of people try and do, which is we'll slim down for the combine, run fast, and then we'll put weight back on for the pro day to show that we're actually bigger than that, right? So and he was listed as a really light player anyway, right? So he shows up at the combine, he weighed 173 pounds and ran a 4.27. And then a week later, he weighed in at 182 pounds for his pro day. So if you're a team that has thresholds for size and weight, et cetera, what number are you using for Nate Wiggins?
I think most teams use the higher one, but that doesn't jive. What was his combine?
173.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a threshold team, I don't know if you split the difference. I mean, you talk to the team and say, what did he play at? I mean, that's the big thing, right? Where did he play? Because if he played at 175, that's different, right? And then who cares if he weighed in at 182? Other than it shows you could put some level of weight on, whether it's fake or not. You talk to the team. What did he play? What's his playing weight? And then you evaluate the tape. Did it matter?
Sorry, it's a 4.29 apparently.
Anyway, Jared Verse the pick here for the Green Bay Packers. So Wiggins is still on the clock. I think this would be – look, this happens every year where I think a really good player falls. In this iteration of our viewer mock draft, Jared Verse at 25 to the Packers is an absolute steal.
Yep, bargain.
Good for them. That puts the Bucs up on the clock here. I think they have a big cornerback need, and I want to put Nate Wiggins and Kool-Aid McKinstry in there as two options at corner. Where else would you? It's tough to put Johnny Newton in here a year after selecting Elijah Cansey, so I wouldn't do that.
Very similar players.
Yeah, I think that's,
at least in terms of stylistically. I mean, he's a much larger player.
I think that's too redundant. Is this a place where Peyton Wilson might be in here at linebacker, or Chop Robinson? I think Chop as a pass rushing edge option might be good.
I think JPJ is still a live option, again, as a guard convert potentially.
All right, throw him in there.
I mean, competition at center.
Who else is here from the consensus board that is still available? Johnny Newton, A.D. Mitchell. I think Chop Robinson's 28 on the consensus board. I think this is about the right time to put him in there. Put JPJ and the two corners. Wiggins and Kool-Aid.
It's already up.
It's already up.
Already up.
They're good. They're good at listening to us ramble.
They are just so fed up of listening to us, they're going to fire up whatever poll they want.
I'm complimenting them. They're not fed up with us. They're good at tuning their ear to our top four. Might be Darius Robinson territory with these next few teams. Receiver territory for a bunch of teams here.
If this was the 04 draft, Darius Robinson would be a top 5 pick.
Darius Robinson from Missouri. A perfect 3-4 defensive end body. This is a tight one. Okay, so the Bucs, we're looking at a tie at the top right now between Kool-Aid McKinstry and Nate Wiggins. They're within a percentage point. It looks like it's probably going to be corner. This might be the closest poll that we've had so far. All four players are within 8 percentage points of each other. It's rarely that close.
Yeah, it's certainly the closest with all four votes. There have been very tight polls between, one or two. But, yeah, this is the closest with all four.
We're over 300 votes. We'll take it to 400 votes if we can get there. We'll take it to 400 votes and see. Nate Wiggins grabbing a lead here from Clemson. It's the Bucks pick.
Despite his indeterminate size, who knows how much the man weighs?
Let's ask around. We'll ask around how teams will handle that. I'll ask around. We'll put some feelers out.
Okay. I wanted to know how Palazzolo, the GM, would handle it. Wasn't interested in how the NFL handles it.
I will. I told you. I'll talk to Clemson. Talk to their coaches.
Talk to Clemson.
What's his playing weight? And that's what we'll establish as his weight. What did he play?
Are you projecting any, growth in size, in weight for him, or are you just saying whatever he played, that's the number we're going with? Are you? Because you
project a little bit of growth, and you drop the 40 a little bit. It's got a.
Oh, you're dropping the 40 as well.
Sliders.
You're not giving him credit for that.
Sliders.
Because you hear a lot teams go, we'll get him in the weight room. We'll add 10 pounds. He'll play at 190. You're not doing that. You're just.
I'll talk to my trainers.
Talk to Clemson.
Talk to my trainers. See what they think about his frame and the ability to maintain his explosiveness.
Okay.
I got to understand the history. What was his weight as a freshman? What was he doing?
You want to see his growth curve, his arc.
Got to see the curves.
Wow.
Yeah. I'd take his knee circumference. That helps with growth projection.
It does?
In teenagers, at least. Yeah. Knee circumference is big.
What?
Yeah.
In teenagers? Who is measuring the knee circumference of teenagers?
College teams.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
For what sport? All of them?
Football. Chip Kelly's been doing
the guy with the fattest knees. He's going to be a monster?
I don't know if you're just looking bigger is better. I just think that there's some sort of correlation between your wrist size and your knee size and your parents' genetics, and you're trying to project growth.
Huh.
Byron Murphy II's a product of that. Projected
large knees.
Growth. Projected growth. I don't know if it was the knee in particular, but anyway.
All right.
I was a projectable prospect at 6'7", 170.
With the big knees.
Whatever I was. It wasn't my knees. It was just you were big and skinny. You could probably put on 50 pounds.
Oh, okay.
And look at me, 100 pounds later. 130 pounds later. They were right. All right, Nate Wiggins is the pick for the Tampa Bay Bucks. They traded Carlton Davis this offseason, so Wiggins can come in and compete opposite Jamel Dean, and you love that.
Yeah.
Jamel Dean's one corner, Nate Wiggins is the other corner.
Wild combination of body types.
You love body type differences.
I mean,
Arizona Cardinals up on the clock at pick 27 here.
Yeah, those two guys playing the same position, just insane.
All right, so Cardinals, they should have the top couple players. Johnny Newton. They should have Kool-Aid McKinstry. They should have JPJ as an option at center, right?
Yep. And then one other random player. Do you want to give them? I mean, they took a wide receiver. So
double up at receiver, baby. Double up at receiver. And Chop Robinson should be in there.
Okay. Sure. Done.
Good options.
Easy.
There we go. They're going to have the poll up. Look at that. Boom. It's up. Arizona Cardinals.
Johnny Newton feels like a slam dunk on this one. I would think. That's where I would go. That's where my vote would go. And in fact, did.
How would you feel about the Cardinals? They come in with pick 4 and pick 27. If they just make their picks, don't do any wheeling and dealing like they did last year.
And come out with Marvin Harrison and Johnny Newton, I'd feel pretty sweet about that if I'm Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the options. The wheeling and dealing is sometimes fun. I think if I was GM, I think I would want to spend a couple years accumulating future picks. Not just trade down, but just loading up on future picks. Because it's not just draft volume. I really think it's getting those top 75, top 50, top 75 type of picks. And so you can do that with the future discounts, right? And that's what Arizona did to put themselves in position here. I just wonder if you want it. Do you want to keep doing that? Or does it run out at some point and you just make your picks and you move on?
I feel like there's a world where you could kind of create the opposite of what who was the team that spent like a decade just trading away?
The Chargers in the 70s or 80s. Someone tweeted
just
at me.
Always trading future picks for current picks for like 8 straight years or whatever it was.
They kept trading ones for current twos.
Yeah.
Future ones for current twos.
Just like a staggering inefficiency in like just a constant run of losing money effectively, right? I feel like you could do that in the opposite direction if you were willing to sacrifice like 1 year. Say, we just want to, 1 year we're going to eat it and trade into next year, and we're just going to do what the Rams did, except instead of bringing in Jalen Ramsey or whatever, we're just going to go for the future. We're doing the opposite of mortgaging the future. We're mortgaging the present to secure the future. But then for the next, however long you last in the job, you're always 1 year ahead. You can always trade into next year and have 2 first-round picks every year.
That was so the Eagles a couple years ago. When they had They had the deal with the Saints. They had the deal with the Dolphins, I believe it was, right? The Eagles kept doing that, and they were in this great position, and then they traded one for A.J. Brown. They selected Jordan Davis. Last year they had the 2 picks, and it's run out. Now they're just picking at 22. Right.
Johnny Newton.
Which is fine, but do you always want to keep that going, or do you just want to do that for like a couple-year period? You're loading up on these high-value players, but you can't really do it all the time because at some point,
I think there's always I think you can always try and stay. I think you can if you decide to get it. If you get into that run, I think you can keep yourself going with multiple first-round picks like in perpetuity going forward if you want to do that, which gives you the flexibility to do whatever you want in the draft, whether it is just have 2 picks like this, Marvin Harrison and Johnny Newton, whether it's to have the ammunition to go and trade up for a guy you really want or a quarterback you really want if yours suddenly, develops a problem, i.e. play falls off, injury hits, whatever the thing is, you have the flexibility to go and get a quarterback that you wouldn't have otherwise. Or you have the ammunition to make the Brandon Ayuk trade if that's out there in any given year, right? In a way that other teams don't.
That was the Eagles doing that for A.J. Brown with one of their picks.
Exactly.
I love it so much.
So I think there's merit to that idea of, okay, it's not always easy to get it, but once you're in that situation where you have a future first, I think you can keep yourself in there, which does an amazing amount for flexibility in any given draft year.
All right, we got the Bills up on so Johnny Newton's the pick.
Yep.
For the Arizona Cardinals. It was in a landslide. Cardinals come away with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Johnny Newton. Puts the Bills up on the clock at pick 28.
Is this just 4 wide receivers?
So people have requested Xavier Legette. And even if they are linked to Legette, a lot of the linking, remember, doesn't always mean first round.
Sure.
Could be a second round thing. But I would say A.D. Mitchell has to be here.
Yeah.
Troy Franklin has to be in here.
Ladd McConkey has to be here.
Ladd McConkey has to be in here. Now, the other top player on the board is Kool-Aid McKinstry. And I think Buffalo could.
Do you see any way they would pass on a wide receiver at 28 if.
With these options, probably not.
Right.
So do you want to just
I just say
give them Legette?
Give them 4 receivers.
Put Legette in there for the people.
For the people.
Well, somebody said Legette and Chop Robinson. I would put Chop in there too, but we got the 4. Just give them the 4 receivers. That's all you got. If we have enough write-in votes for Chop Robinson or a non-receiver, then we'll do a runoff. Okay. I'm having flashbacks here. Did we do it? We've done a runoff before. I feel like. I feel like that was an old.
The problem is this wide receiver class being what it is. You could also name 4 other wide receivers that could be in this spot as well.
So these 4 receivers: A.D. Mitchell, Ladd McConkey, Troy Franklin, Xavier Legette. Would you be surprised if one of these guys was available at Buffalo's next pick, which is where the heck is it?
60.
60. Like if Xavier Legette was available at 60, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I could see
if Ladd or some of the other guys were.
I could see 2 of these 4 potentially being available at that spot.
Right.
As in, like, I wouldn't be surprised.
Doesn't mean don't take it here.
No, it just means I wouldn't be shocked if 2 of these 4 guys were available at pick 60.
Yeah.
Not that I expect it to happen, but that it wouldn't shock me.
I thought this would be closer, but the people like A.D. Mitchell. I mean, I'm ready to call it. He's at 54%. Everybody else is in the teens.
Done.
A.D. Mitchell is the pick here for the Buffalo Bills at 28. I like that. That's
Detroit gets fun. Kool-Aid got to be one of them.
Yeah, so massive corner need for the Lions here. Kool-Aid McKinstry has to be the guy. Throw Mikey Sanders still in there. No, he's redundant to Brian Branch. But just the local guy and the grid and the knee bite, like he's just great, you know.
Is JPJ a long-term option at guard or, I mean, probably not center, but like, is he a...
What a fit. He would be the guy they would just pick it for the fit. I know Frank Ragnow was dealing with injuries last year. Is that security? The Lions are in a good enough spot.
Big time grit.
As a team.
A lot of grit.
To be able to do that. Just put him in. Okay. I would put Chop Robinson in there too. I would love to see Chop in there with Aiden Hutchinson and what they've done with Marcus Davenport. How many guys is that?
3.
So Kool-Aid, JPJ, Chop Robinson, and who else?
Developmental tackle, Guyton.
Chris
Somebody
Jenkins.
to long-term replace him for Decker.
Yeah, throw Guyton in there. He won't win. The other 3 guys. The other 3 guys are good fits.
Throw Guyton in, he won't win.
Yeah.
That's how we're doing this. Darius Robinson is the other obvious one.
Oh, Darius. Yeah. Throw Darius Robinson. Is it too late?
Too late.
It's too late. Write-in votes for Darius Robinson. Sorry.
That's our bad.
Oh, I just lost my hearing in one ear. What happened?
What?
Just got some buzzing in my ear.
Yeah?
Yeah, no big deal. It's a long show. Things happen.
Is that an aging thing? You just
a lot of things are aging.
hit.
You can't tell what's aging and what's just you got 4 kids and things go haywire.
There's 3 options. Are you just aging? You've got 3 kids or 4 kids and stuff's rough.
Did I say 3?
I don't know.
I may have said 3.
And then the third option is terminal cancer. It's one of the 3.
Dude.
In any given year. Anything that goes wrong, it's either it's fine, this is just getting older,
Let's blame
it's
age
I've got
42
kids,
and
or it's I'm dying.
And the 4 kids.
This was what Tyler was dealing with before.
8-year-old, by the way, another announcement. 8-year-old Harry will drop his final mock draft this week.
Oh.
Harry's final mock draft will drop probably Wednesday. We're looking at Wednesday night release for Harry's mock draft. Oh, man. He won a game ball this weekend as the closer. The closer in his game. Struck out a couple guys, hit a couple guys. My wife looked at me. She's like, it's like watching you again.
Yeah.
Right?
Scatter
Just
shot.
hitting people all over the place.
Accuracy's questionable.
What's the poll looking like here? What?
It is Kool-Aid. But we didn't track the Darius Robinson write-ins.
We got Darius. We
write in?
Not if people keep misspelling it.
Really?
With an O. It's just Darius
This
with
is
a
the
U.S.
trouble you get into when the
People are requesting Darius Williams, the corner,
Darius Williams.
because that's how they're spelling Darius.
Oh, I see.
That's how they're spelling it. Do we want to run off between Darius Robinson?
I mean, we can do it.
And
but,
Kool-Aid.
Like, just fire it up there, and we're 100 votes, and we're out.
Told you, Guyton would
Immediate,
win.
instant runoff.
Quick runoff. Kool-Aid. Just do straight Kool-Aid versus Darius.
There you go.
There it is. The properly spelled.
First
Darius.
100 votes, and we're out.
We're at 63
62,
votes.
115.
There.
Lock it.
Kool-Aid wins.
Easy.
Kool-Aid wins. Kool-Aid is the pick
See,
for the
instant
Detroit
vote.
Lions.
I like that. We can do those quick.
Quick
Insta
runoffs.
poll.
An Insta poll. Quick runoff there. Kool-Aid McKinstry.
I'm sure there's no margin for error for those at all. Ravens.
How about JPJ as a guard?
For Baltimore?
For the Baltimore Ravens.
Sure.
Like that potential.
Don't hate it. I mean, they wrecked that offensive line this offseason. Just they're rebuilding it. So, sure.
I think Chop Robinson should be an option for them.
Yeah, people hated that. We had that in a mock before, and Ravens fans were whinging about it.
This doesn't play the run. Doesn't feel like they picture Terrell Suggs and Jarrett Johnson.
They've also had like a run of speedier, non-run defending edges.
I understand. They've had Matthew Judon, but Judon's more of an all-around player. Chop is certainly more one-dimensional. I think Darius Robinson, his multi-gap ability, should be an option here.
Would they still be in the wide receiver market?
I think they always are, especially like
Zay Flowers, Bateman.
Like a Lad McConkey feels like a good
Deontay Hardy, Tyler
potential.
Wallace.
We're lower on Tyler Guyton than others.
Sure.
And I just don't know if someone's going to put him – like he could be a legitimate right tackle option for them. He's actually mocked – in the consensus mock draft, he's projected to the Ravens at 30, so I think Guyton needs to be in there. JPJ, Guyton,
okay,
Chop Robinson, and throw a receiver in.
Which receiver?
Throw your favorite receiver. Lad?
McConkey or Franklin?
Franklin. Yeah, Franklin.
You're coming around on Troy now.
I rewatched Troy so I could I'm trying to make sure that I like the tape on the model guys.
Okay.
I let to watch enough tape till I like them. Is my goal here.
Okay, I see.
And so I found some nuanced route running from Troy Franklin that might offset some of his softness at the catch point.
I told you that was there a month ago.
I know, but I just couldn't get over the fact that his ability to handle a little bit of physicality was lacking.
But it's only late in the route. Like
he is really good at just accelerating quick and getting behind defenders.
Like insta sheds press coverage.
Yeah, he does. So I'm coming around on Troy. He should be the vote.
He's not. He's in fact losing hard.
He's a blue. Trust the data. He is this year's Marvin Mims for me, data-wise.
Don't love that.
What?
I mean,
Mims just didn't have an opportunity last year. He's going to break out. I literally did what, Steve? What are you responding to? You guys are on delay. So if you say he literally did, Steve Conrad, I don't know what that means.
Correct.
It's like, forget it. Darius Robinson is too old for the Ravens.
Too old for the Ravens?
Too old.
How old can he be?
Age doesn't seem to matter. It depends on the positions. Age does not matter on the offensive line. Take the old dudes on the offensive line. Doesn't matter.
He's 22. How is he too old?
Too old. I think the people who focus on age, I think it's a little overrated for many positions. Whole Foods order is ready. That's great. Thank you, honey.
It's Guyton.
It's Guyton. Tyler Guyton's the pick. Yeah. People are higher on him than us. I think there were some questions there. This would be the second year in a row. Well, forget it. Tyler Guyton's going to be the next right tackle for the Ravens. You move Makari back around guard, flexibility. That's not a bad pick. If Guyton pans out, the potential is absolutely there for Tyler Guyton.
Yep.
From Oklahoma.
San Francisco.
A couple of these receivers. Troy Franklin, Ladd McConkey. What else here?
I mean, I've given them corner
Chop
before.
Robinson
Corner is a
has to be
reasonably
there,
high thing in their mock.
Do we throw the next corner in there? Sanders still's tough because I don't think Sanders still is a nickel. I don't know if there's ever been a more perfect comp than Sanders Still and Mike Hilton.
Right, and there's no way that even knowing what Mike Hilton became, he would be drafted in the first round.
He wouldn't be drafted. Sanders Still's not going to be. I don't think he'll be in the first round. So right. He's high on our board. He's next on the mock draft sim. He's up there. I'm not going to put him in here. We've had TJ Tampa up here, but he's dropping off a little bit on the consensus.
Yeah, it's probably not a great spot for corners at this.
Yeah, don't force a corner. Just throw Keon Coleman in because, who knows? Who knows?
Keon Coleman.
Throw Keon Coleman in. Wow. And Darius Robinson. Darius should be in there. We have too many people. Walt wants JPJ. He's a horrible fit for what they do.
Yeah.
Troy Franklin, Ladd McConkey, Keon Coleman, and Darius Robinson. We missing anybody? No, it's fine.
Probably.
This is where Troy's going to go. Then they trade Ayuk. I'm torn on Darius Robinson as a player, as we've said before. 3-4 defensive end body. He played on the interior in Missouri. Last year moved to the edge. Mediocre production. And then dominated the Senior Bowl. And I'll give you a little Senior Bowl nugget here. Oh, we forgot Chop Robinson. We'll have a chop. We'll have a runoff for Chop. If we got enough, drop it in there for Chop, for the algorithm. Drop it in there for Chop. We'll have a runoff with Chop and whoever wins this. I was looking at some Senior Bowl numbers and how well grades correlate. PFF Senior Bowl grades. And tight end was really good. And edge was decent. Edge was number 2. And Darius Robinson had the best pass rush grade we've ever seen for an edge at the Senior Bowl.
Really?
Yes.
Darius is winning this, so let's have a Darius.
Let's have a
Chop runoff.
Let's have Robinson a Darius
off. A Robinson off
versus Chop Robinson off right now. Darius versus Chop, completely different players.
Yes.
Chop Robinson, you're undersized, kind of undersized, explosive, up the field edge rusher, doesn't want to play the run all that much. Darius Robinson, more of a tweener, in and out type of guy. Your Eric Armstead replacement, maybe. Move him about.
That's exactly where he fits.
So yeah, the more I think about it, Darius might be a really nice fit for the Niners. He's losing the runoff right now. We'll take it to 300. We'll let this one run out a little bit. It's 52-48 in favor of Chop.
He is an interesting player because I do think he belongs better on the interior, but he's not, a full-time 3-tech defensive tackle type player.
And he didn't play that well in that role at Missouri.
Yeah, he is that kind of hybrid type of role, which doesn't. I mean, it's not like it doesn't exist, but it's not like it was before when those guys just played, right? Yeah. He's Richard Seymour. Like that's the kind of position he belongs in.
Darius mostly played on the edge at the Senior Bowl. Like he was going one-on-one with tackles. His length was giving people problems. There's a little love for Adisa Isaac, who is the other edge defender at Penn State. He's a late riser on the PFF draft board. He's up to 38 now on the PFF draft board. I will say Isaac is a high-energy, fun player to watch.
He's pretty good.
He's a good player. He's fine. I don't love him in the fringe first round, though. There's like a history of edge defenders. Like you either have it or you don't for the most part. And the guys that go in the second and the third round just don't have a great history of developing.
Yeah, I mean, I like him in that area only in terms of he's sort of the next guy up, and that's where they tend to end up being. But your point is legit, which is those guys don't have a great track record.
You've got the Max Crosbys of the world and Alex Highsmith and Trey Flowers. Those are some third and fourth rounders that have panned out. The second round has not been good for impact starters. You know, guys that could play your 500, 700 snaps, but not impact.
The Robinson office, it's pretty close.
It's really close. 52-48. Chop is winning with about 27 votes to go. I want to take it to 300 votes. I think we can get there. We get the Niners on the clock right now. Chiefs are coming up next. It's really close. It's neck and neck. Might have to run off the runoff. I don't know what we're gonna do.
Uh-huh.
Now we'll can it at 300. Chop's running away. Is he running away?
Not running away, but he's gonna win it.
He got up to 53.
Yeah, call it.
298. 300 votes.
300. I saw 300.
It looks like Chop. Let's wait till the final results. It is
Chop
Chop
wins.
Robinson. Chop is the winner. That is our first runoff winner. We threw him in there.
What?
I mean, the first Chop was not in the original poll.
First vote.
We screwed up the original poll. We did. We could admit our errors. We forgot. We didn't put Chop in there. I mean, I mentioned him. We didn't put him in. Chop Robinson's the pick.
Uh-huh.
Puts the Chiefs up on the clock at pick 32. So give them your fun receivers.
Ladd
and Troy Franklin.
Any others that go in there?
I just selected Troy Franklin.
Good work.
Well, someone else will have the better.
Any other receivers?
Xavier Worthy. You just put him in there.
Worthy.
You just have to put Xavier Worthy in there, right?
I mean, sure.
Just for the speed and Kansas City. No,
Is there any other position they're going to be going? Or is it just receivers?
Would they want to continue to go defensive line with Darius Robinson? Is he too redundant to Charles Omenihu and Chris Jones and Karlaftis and everybody that they have there?
I mean, you can never
FAU last year, they've got a lot of bodies.
Didn't Omenihu, he tore his ACL in the championship game?
May have, yeah. Because he's an Omenihu body type.
Yeah.
The other question is corner. Right? Got to with Jerry Sneed out.
Right. Yeah, tore an ACL for Omenihu.
I mean, just throw Darius Robinson in there if they want to keep going D-line. The two receivers, Ladd McConkey and who else did I say?
McConkey, Troy Franklin.
And anyone else? QB? Tackle. Jordan Morgan.
Oh, yeah.
They have to have a tackle option there.
Okay, so Troy Franklin, Ladd McConkey, Jordan Morgan. Who was the fourth?
Darius Robinson.
Do it.
Done.
Log it in.
This has been fun. Under 2.5 hours. Good job.
Easy.
Chat.
You want to do the well, we've got to do Carolina.
We'll do Carolina.
You want to do the other two as well?
No, because we have to make picks up to that point to make it happen.
Yeah, we just fired them in.
Or we just give them options?
Just give them options.
Yeah, we'll do it for the second rounders as well.
Yeah.
I think Rattler to the Chiefs here, just to
The bottom of the first.
push Mahomes a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Could always do that.
Motivate him.
Man, nobody wants Troy Franklin. Nobody's buying Troy Franklin the way we are.
I think Ladd McConkey, by the way, would be an amazing fit in San Francisco. I know we passed that pick.
Yeah.
But just stylistically, like his route running and the ability to snap off routes laterally is a Shanahan perfect mesh.
Ladd McConkey's the pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe because I accidentally clicked Troy Franklin. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. So the Chiefs make their pick. It's Ladd McConkey at pick 32. He defeats Troy Franklin, Jordan Morgan, and Darius Robinson. Puts the Panthers up on the clock.
So Ladd McConkey, Xavier Legette has got to be one.
McConkey just got picked. So Troy Franklin.
Troy Franklin.
Yes.
Xavier Legette.
Yeah, give him Legette because Legette said Panthers are going to take him at 33.
He's apparently met with them 4 times.
I mean, this happens every year. Teams say, "Oh yeah, we'll definitely take you if you're there."
Right.
And other stuff happens.
Yeah, you don't tend to see them. I mean,
do you buy that smoke?
It's a lot of interviews. A lot.
Debo Samuel said the Patriots were going to take him. They passed on him.
Right. But how many times has a guy been in like 4 times to a building and they've gone, nah, you know what? Not so much.
How many times are you allowed to have people in?
I don't know. Hey, he's local. It doesn't count against your 30.
Oh, if it's local. Got it.
Would they be in the JPJ sweepstakes, right? He's still around, didn't he? He hasn't been drafted. Did we? No, he's still there.
Yeah, JPJ.
So JPJ, Troy Franklin, Xavier Legette, and other.
And the other could be Darius Robinson, just to go defense. Xavier Worthy.
That would be it. Yeah, okay,
Worthy's 34 on the consensus
Do that.
board.
Worthy.
Go ahead, Panthers.
And they've got to pick,
Are we going to go all the way to the Browns and the Texans?
I mean, we might just. I'll fire. I'm tracking it, so I'll just fire in random. I'll take the top player off the board when in reason and just get to their
Start doing it.
Start doing it.
Just get set up.
All right,
get set up for the Browns. JPJ's in the early lead here.
Really?
It's early. We're under 100 votes. Legette's now taking the lead.
Yeah, that's where I think it's going to go. All right, let's do that.
Legette's interesting, man. Not only is it a deep wide receiver class, but it's a lot of different skill sets, as we always say. Legette, big-bodied, runs after the catch, fifth-year breakout guy. Doesn't always bode well historically as a fifth-year breakout, but he did have a really nice season last year with South Carolina. Everybody wants Legette. They know. That's who they're talking to. Because Dave Canales, the connection is Dave Canales loved DK Metcalf. Up in Seattle, he's now the head coach with the Panthers. He had Mike Evans last year with the Bucs, so you're going to get the big-bodied Legette. This is how you do it. If you're not an insider, you connect dots. Dots are being connected in the chat right now.
We're skipping past Carolina's second pick, right? We're just going to the next team that didn't have a first rounder.
Yeah, we're just so every team gets some love here.
Right.
It's just the Texans and the Browns, right? It might.
Yes.
I'm always asking.
And Carolina.
Right. I mean, after Carolina.
Yes.
All right, let's call this for Legette.
Done.
Xavier Legette is the pick. Next TO. Going to Carolina here. Is that right? So Browns are up on the clock. I'm trusting you to pick some good names here.
Browns, Texans.
Is it Browns,
up,
Texans?
Right? Texans are up at 42.
Sanders still up on the
Sanders still's available.
Sanders still's got to be an option.
Jordan Morgan is available. What other positions do we want for them?
Chris Jenkins still there?
Yes. As is Braden Fisk.
Yeah. The D tackles? Give him one of them.
And whatever the next corner available is, whether it's Rakestraw.
Get some corner depth.
Tampa.
Yeah.
Lassiter.
Do they need corner depth? I don't know.
Well, they've got the other corner spot for them.
Yeah, because Akuda,
is just a collection of former first-round failures.
They have Jeff Akuda and C.J. Henderson.
Yes.
Chris Boyd.
So pick a corner, give him San Marcel,
San Marcel's a nickel.
Yeah. Jordan Morgan, D tackle, whether it's Fisk or Chris Jenkins, and then a corner. Who do you want to give him a corner?
I don't know who's TJ
Tampa,
Give him Tampa,
Kamari Lassiter, Rakestraw.
I like Tampa, the best out of those guys. People like Rakestraw better than I do.
Okay.
More than I do.
Well, that four then. Do it.
TJ Tampa. Do we get it?
There it is. It's up.
So this is the Texans poll. Yeah, Darius Robinson's off the board here in this scenario. The Texans are picking. They're not picking 34. What's their actual pick?
42.
So we're at 42. So we're seven or eight picks later. So that some of those other top players are off the board.
Marshawn Nealand is available at this spot as well. Would be an interesting one. Xavier Worthy still available actually. Junior Colson.
Man. Give Bobby Worthy. Just throw Worthy in there. I mean, just how do you cover all that? He's the perfect wide receiver 4 fast guy.
Yep. This is one where I think
to go with Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, and Nico Collins.
I love the fit of giving the Texans San Marcel.
San Marcel would be, I think, a fantastic pick at this point.
Yeah.
10 picks later than when we were theorizing.
Correct. So I'm in fact going to select that.
I selected him.
Then keep moving on. Where's my next?
He's second, though. TJ Tampa's in the lead right now.
It's a while until the Browns are up.
We're losing some steam here. Get to the Browns.
I'm getting there. I'm moving.
So we're making picks behind the scenes, taking some of the top players off the board to get to the Browns.
Yes.
I see Edgerrin Cooper's name in the chat. I'm an Edgerrin Cooper fan over here. So we finally got around to watching linebackers. I think Edgerrin Cooper might be a little underrated in this draft. Reminds me of Jack Campbell last year. Good Jack Campbell.
Who did we give the Jags? We gave him a corner, right?
Texans, TJ Tampa is the pick. So you can come in, compete with Jeffrey Okudah and with C.J. Henderson for that cornerback spot opposite Derek Stingley Jr.
Trying to remember who I've already drafted for people.
Where are the Browns off the clock here? On the clock?
54.
So Browns at 54. So we're doing some mocking behind the scenes just to get to the Browns pick at 54.
Yep.
I believe Chris Jenkins, if he's available, would be good. He might not be, though.
Forget it. Don't even think about it.
Developmental tackles, Patrick Paul.
All right, I got one more pick.
Could be good.
Who do I need
if he's available? Where's Patrick Paul? Paul's dropping on the.
All right, Browns are on the clock. TJ Tampa is still available. Corners are still available.
No, Tampa just got selected by the Texans.
Did it? Okay, then
not available.
He's not available. What do we got? So Kamari Lassiter is the top corner. Chris Braswell is the top edge. There's a bunch of wide receivers. Marshawn Nealand is available still at this spot.
Nealand, I think, is interesting. I think Max Melton at corner could be a potential option here.
Rook Orororo is available.
Just take the don't.
Oh, Xavier Worthy is still available at this spot.
Oh yeah, put Worthy up there for the Browns.
Junior Colson is still available at this spot somehow.
A lot of people like Colson.
A lot of running backs.
Jordan Hicks and JOK and Devin Bush. Yeah, you could throw Junior Col. Is Edgerrin Cooper still in?
Edgerrin Cooper. Hang on.
I would take Cooper.
No, he's not. He's gone.
Okay.
Edgerrin Cooper's gone.
Sua Mattia gone.
He also gone.
Rosen. We can throw Roger.
No,
Rosen.
he's available. Sua
right.
Mattia is.
Let's
still
go
there.
Sua Mattia. Sorry, or Rosengarten if you want to spell it better. Easier.
Not that much easier.
That's a lot of right tackles on this team, though.
It is.
Do that.
Yeah. Nealand should be one pick.
All right, Marshawn Nealand. How about Patrick Paul as an option?
He's definitely available.
Okay, Patrick Paul, developmental tackle. Xavier Worthy at receiver. And one other. Who else? Junior Colson?
Yes, Colson.
Junior Colson.
Done. Easy. See,
that is Dane Brugler's linebacker 1, Junior Colson. So, yeah, we spoke with Dane on Thursday. Great conversation with him. Always appreciate that. Had a good conversation with JT O'Sullivan last week. If you missed any of those Wednesday and Thursday shows, had a lot of fun talking a lot of QBs with JT and then a lot of non-QBs with Dane on Thursday. This Thursday, we've got Nate Tice and Bruce Feldman on our day show. That's pre-recorded. That'll get you ready for draft night. Draft night will be here right after our live show, going live right here on the YouTube channel, recapping all things round 1.
Tyler's take. What does Tyler want?
Tyler, who do you want, man?
Xavier Worthy.
Maybe somebody that's not even on here.
It looks like he's a runaway winner.
Xavier Worthy is going to be the guy. Add that speed to Amari Cooper.
It is.
To Jerry Jeudy.
It's kind of.
I like that a lot.
It's not the missing skill set, but even though they've loaded up on receivers, there's definitely a place for a Xavier Worthy in that receiving group.
There absolutely is.
Like without redundancy.
Worthy would be a nice fit. I mean, again, I always like to squeeze the 4-2 guy in anywhere.
Yeah.
But when he needs to be the 3/4 option and just a deep threat, even if Cedric Tillman gets some snaps as a physical guy, it is a missing skill set of just pure speed. So
right.
Xavier Worthy's the pick here for the Browns.
Done.
So we've picked for everybody.
In just 2.5 hours.
And so he can be Deshaun Watson's Will Fuller, Xavier Worthy.
Sure.
Because he's my annual Will Fuller, Mike Wallace comp. Right or wrong. All right, man. That was fun. Thank you to the viewers. Viewer mock draft. Well, at least hopefully we'll have a screenshot of the first round. We'll put that out there and let everybody else take a look at that. We appreciate the viewers and the interaction. So that's our viewer mock draft for today. Mock Draft Monday, last mock Draft Monday of the year. We'll be back again Wednesday. Remember, NFLpodcast@pff.com or #VaultMe on Twitter. Send us your final predictions for the draft. We will put this on Twitter. We'll put this on our PFF NFL Pod Twitter account, by the way, the mock draft results. So you're going to have to check out the Twitter account. Make sure you're following it anyway at PFF NFL Pod. So go check out the Twitter account. We'll have the results, and then let us know all of your predictions for the draft. We'll pick the best ones, put up a PFF Plus account in exchange potentially for some coffee, and see how well you do. All right? All right, thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again on Wednesday with more PFF NFL Podcast.